Chapter 649, The Banquet. Hao Peng was leading the way and was followed by the geniuses of the competition. But as before, nobody could see where they were going. That place is gigantic, thought Lin Feng. They had been flying for such a long time but still hadn't arrived. How big was that place? There was still an endless sky all around them. Lin Feng didn't understand precisely who the Shingon people were or how strong they were. Suddenly Lin Feng was in a new place. In front of him was a passageway that was about 20 meters wide. There was a gigantic and magnificent gate at the entrance and Shingon North was written above it. There are 4 districts here, Shingon North, Shingon South, Shingon East and Shingon West. Shingon North is one of the most prestigious districts. So much so that protectors like Shui Wuchang cannot come here, explained Hao Peng before entering the passageway. Lin Feng and the others continued to be surprised but followed him into Shingon North. After the passageway they arrived in a new area that reminded them of the outside. However, palaces were a bit smaller and there were cultivation fields. This seemed like a place was for residents. There were all sorts of skills, bicycles, sword skills, etc. Everybody could see that. When will we arrive? Asked Di Ling. He was starting to get upset. They had been there for a while already. Immediately, said Hao Peng. Shingon is like heaven, you've never seen such a place before. Your eyes can now open. It's an incredible place which will enable you to understand the world even better. It's a place for strong cultivators, it's a place where you realize how tiny you are. Don't think that you are real geniuses because you are a little strong in Shuiyu. Actually, you are worthless. I have seen authentic geniuses in my life and I don't consider any of you as one. What? They were astonished when they heard him, he had actually made them quite upset. Hao Peng was making fun of them and insulting them. How strong are you in Shingon then? Asked Di Ling mockingly. I am one of the top geniuses, I belong to the Shingon North, said Hao Peng. You are from Shingon where the qi of the earth and the sky is extremely dense. Considering those facts, you are actually a weakling, said Di Ling. Hao Peng was stupefied, he turned his head and saw Di Ling's cold smile. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, said Hao Peng indifferently. Finally, they arrived in front of a gigantic palace. In front of the palace were several silhouettes. It seemed like those people were waiting for them. As expected, Hao Peng jumped and landed on the roof of the palace. He looked at one person respectfully and said, Your Highness, I brought them. You worked hard, said the middle-aged man indifferently. That person didn't sound or look like an incredible person, he looked like your average Joe. Even his qi was normal. That person was the leader of Shingon. What was his cultivation level like? Everybody wanted to know how strong that person was. It is an honor for me to receive so many outstanding geniuses in Shingon North. Since you are my guests, we should have a banquet together. After the dinner we will bring you to the next place, said the leader of Shingon North. He didn't sound proud at all, he just sounded like a nice person. He was probably easy to get along with, he even looked like he respected them already. A banquet, thought Lin Feng. Shingon also prepared banquets. Lin Feng was wondering what that place really was. Lin Feng was a bit upset because of the incredibly beautiful women on the leader's side. All of them had an extraordinary qi, they were all extremely strong and had natural abilities. And yet, they were only following them around. Lin Feng didn't feel at ease. He had the feeling that Shingon was an odd place. What did they want to do? The great competition of Shuiyu was managed by Shingon, what was their goal? Was it really to see who the strongest cultivators were? All of them had never thought about these things until now. But suddenly they were all starting to ask themselves these questions, not only Lin Feng. A group of women in white clothes brought tables, chairs, food. Everything was put on 2 sides of the table and the middle was reserved for the respectable people of Shingon North. All right. Everybody, let's start, said the leader of Shingon North. Then they looked at everything and their eyes lit up. That is. The banquet? On the tables, apart from alcohol and food, there were specks of grass and pills. That banquet was luxurious and extravagant, there were grass and pills. And all of them were extraordinary, everybody could sense the pleasant qi emerging out of them. Shengong, sighed Lin Feng. That was how strong and rich this sphere of influence was. Ordinary people couldn't imagine such things. Even cultivators like Lin Feng, who had become stronger step by step, who had gone through hardships, had taken risks. And had, step by step, broken through to higher cultivation layers. Maybe Shengong's people, with their wealth, only had to listen to some teachers and partake in some small battles against their fellow disciples. Learning incredible skills and techniques made them monstrously strong. Sometimes they would go out to practice using some grass and pills, they could destroy extremely strong cultivators with all of that. Those who made great efforts in Shengong could become gods. That was the difference between a place like Shengong and a country like Shuiyu. The conditions at birth were different, so the future was different. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't going to undervalue himself. On the path of cultivation, going through hardships and taking risks were wonderful things. If a cultivator who had become godlike by going through hardships and taking risks fought a godlike cultivator who had enjoyed a comfortable life, there would be no suspense. The winner would be obvious. But Lin Feng didn't deny that it was the case for all of them. Surely, some people from wealthy groups also went through difficult times. Generally speaking, people from wealthy groups all had better conditions. What was important was the way the elders educated them. However, those who reached the clouds thanks to their own efforts could be proud of themselves. In comparison with those Shengong people, the geniuses of the great competition of Shuiyu didn't have such luxuries. They had to rely on themselves a lot and didn't have access to incredible treasures to improve themselves with on the path of cultivation. Please, said the leader of Shengong North when he saw that the crowd was astonished. The leader of Shengong North took the best seat and sat down. Then the many beautiful women sat down around him. And then some extremely strong cultivators came and sat down with them too. I wish I could know you better, please introduce yourselves, said the leader of Shengong. He was, as before, extremely polite. He didn't sound arrogant at all. Firmament Empire, Di Ling, said Di Ling, Firmament Blood. Di Ling, not bad, said the leader of Shengong North while nodding. Shuiyu, Duan Wu Dao. The unruly and ultra-violent crown prince. What you have accomplished is great for such a tiny country as Shuiyu, said the leader of Shengong North. It seemed like he knew everything about them already. Black Wings Empire, Xue Sha. Magnolia Empire, Ling Xiao. The leader of Shengong knew all of them. And then Lin Feng introduced himself. Shuiyu, Lin Feng, said Lin Feng, but this time the leader of Shengong North looked surprised. He didn't know him, Lin Feng from Shuiyu. He had never heard of such a genius. Who was that? Chapter 650, Shengong's Goal. Lin Feng, whispered the leader of Shengong North. Lin Feng was from Shuiyu. A tiny little country like Shuiyu had two geniuses in the top 15. That was very rare. Besides, Lin Feng had only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer, so the leader of Shengong North was even more surprised. Apart from him and Yunfei Yang, they had all broken through to the 7th Xian Qi layer and beyond. Not bad. You are extremely young, such a cultivation level is rare. I hope that after having gone to our special places, your cultivation level will increase. I hope that you will become much stronger, said the leader of Shengong North. In his eyes, Lin Feng was so young and was already stronger. He could be proud of himself because that was already incredible. Lin Feng slightly smiled and bowed but said nothing. Dragon Mountain, Jun Mo Shi, said Jun Mo Shi. There are 6 people from Dragon Mountain and the countries under its jurisdiction. Shengong will remember that and there will be an award, of course, said the leader of Shengong North while smiling and looking at Jun Mo Shi. Jun Mo Shi was, of course, delighted. Everything was going better than he had expected. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang were even there in the top 15. Everybody introduced themselves and then the leader of Shandong North said, "All right, everybody help yourself. Please don't be shy." After that, the leader of Shandong North looked at the beautiful women and young men in armors. "Weren't you curious to know those geniuses? You have the opportunity now. You can even measure your strength with theirs." They nodded. Some beautiful women were drinking alcohol while looking at the men in admiration. Many of those young men were looking at Qing Meng Xian. She looked so lovely and attractive. She could make men's souls shake. Her beautiful skin looked like a precious material. She had a resplendent smile on her face and her neck was as white and beautiful as that of a swan. When they looked down at her cleavage, they only wanted to see more. However, the first one who stood up didn't go towards Qing Meng Xian but towards Tang Yuyu. Tang Yuyu looked cold and elegant. She was different from Qing Meng Xian but they were both beautiful. Even though Tang Yuyu wasn't sensual, she looked delicate. "Your name is Tang Yuyu, would you like to sit next to me and have some drinks?" said Hao Peng, waiting for Tang Yuyu's response. He looked strange. At the same time, a beautiful woman moved next to Jun Mo Shi. She was looking at him in a sensual and alluring way. Her eyes looked as limpid as water. Lin Feng was stupefied. He had the feeling that the banquet was a blind date meeting. Beautiful women loved heroes, and handsome heroes also loved beautiful women. A group of beautiful women walked towards Di Ling, Duan Wu Dao, etc. Because there were only 4 women, the young men from Shandong moved towards one person each. Those beautiful women looked outstanding and extraordinary, one could see it from their qi. Lin Feng looked right and left. On his left, there was Jun Mo Shi. On his right, there was Tang Yuyu. They were both accompanied, only Lin Feng was alone. He had only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer. It was too low for the beautiful women of Shandong. But then a beautiful woman who was drinking alcohol moved towards him. She looked left and right, and then smiled wryly and asked him, "Can I sit next to you?" "Of course," said Lin Feng with a slight smile on his face. That beautiful woman was wearing a blue chong sam and she sat down on the floor with him. She looked different from the rest. When she saw that Lin Feng was looking at her, she raised her glass and took a sip. Lin Feng also took a sip. The girl who was sitting with him was the most beautiful of all the girls there. But she looked different, she looked lonely and solitary. "You don't like that kind of atmosphere?" asked Lin Feng in a very low voice. The girl raised her head, smiled and said, "We, people of Shandong, need the purest and strongest blood." Lin Feng was stupefied. He understood what she meant. The banquet had been organized to create couples between the most outstanding geniuses of the great competition of Shuiyu and their people. They needed their women to give birth to incredible geniuses. Therefore, there was that kind of banquet. "I understand," said Lin Feng while smiling and nodding. The girl lowered her head and drank her glass of alcohol. And then suddenly, as if she had thought about something, she raised her head again and looked at Lin Feng. "Look, what do you think? If you and I. Would you be willing?" Lin Feng looked surprised, just like that. "Anyways, if it's not you, it's them. Even though your cultivation level is low, you look handsome to me. You seem to have very high natural abilities, your blood mustn't be that different from mine," whispered the girl with a wry smile. "Since you don't like selling yourself, why don't you find a lover instead?" "Wouldn't that be better?" asked Lin Feng. "I am a Shandong girl. We are as outstanding as those young men, but we don't have as much choice as them. We have to find people who have amazing natural abilities, even if their cultivation level is low, it doesn't matter." "You're quite audacious," said Lin Feng while smiling and shaking his head. That place was so huge, with the leader's cultivation level, even if she was whispering he could probably hear what she was saying. "The leader knows we don't want to do this. But he doesn't care. The most important thing is Shandong. He doesn't repent anything at all," said the girl as if she didn't care. Lin Feng was speechless, but that girl was interesting. In other circumstances, Lin Feng might have fallen in love with her. I already have wives, said Lin Feng while smiling. When Tang Yu heard him, she glanced at him and turned her head again. Then she said to Hao Peng, "Go away, I'm not interested in you." Hao Peng was speechless. He had just invited Tang Yu to sit with him, but she was refusing him so outright. He had never thought she would react like that. He was so astonished that he could only pull a long face. Then he stood up and looked at Lin Feng and the girl. Then he looked at the girl and said, "Qing Chan, you're really becoming worse and worse. Choosing a cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer, that's ridiculous." Then, Hao Peng rolled up his sleeves and looked at Lin Feng with discontent. "Ignore him, he's very arrogant. He thinks that he's the most amazing cultivator in the world. But there are actually many people in Shandong who are much stronger than him," said Qing Chan indifferently. Hao Peng had already been rejected by that girl in the past. He was still furious, so that's why he was being rude with her. Lin Feng slightly nodded and took a pill from the table which he immediately swallowed. An incredible feeling invaded his body. It wasn't comfortable at all, but it felt like his pure qi was getting purer than before. After a short time, everybody went back to their own seats, those beautiful women as well. The leader of Shandong North smiled and said, "You are the most outstanding geniuses of Shuaiyu, and those are the most outstanding young men and women of Shandong. I organized that banquet so that you can exchange. All right. Since you don't feel like it right now, I will first bring you to the special area." The leader of Shandong North then stood up and said, "Follow me." Everybody suddenly became interested. On the path of cultivation, people were mostly interested in increasing their strength. Everybody rose up in the air and followed the leader. What was that special area the leader had been talking about? They were finally about to benefit from the great advantages of Shandong. Chapter 651, the special area. Apart from the leader of Shandong North and the 15 geniuses, several outstanding cultivators from Shandong followed them too. They were all heading for the special area. After a while, the clouds rolled away and a gigantic area appeared. There was no palace, only a moonlight shining upon clouds. That's clearly another world. There is a moon and a sun. Even at night it cannot get dark. The sun and the moon seem like they will never disappear. Lin Feng looked at the moonlight and was surprised. He had seen many incredible things, but he had never thought such a thing could exist. That was another area of Shandong, the special area. In the past, I went to the fire desert when I crossed the illusionary door in the lovesickness forest. Could Shandong be a place like Tianyahai? Lin Feng suddenly thought about that mysterious place where he had been in the past. Li Shan had helped him fabricate his banner there, but he had had evil intentions. It had been very difficult to escape. And then he had forced his parents to block the entrance to that world and never go back again. It was too dangerous. When Lin Feng thought about that, he raised his head and looked at the sky. "Let's go up," said the leader of Shandong North. The crowd followed, rising higher up into the sky. The clouds were rolling more and more violently. The crowd had the feeling that they were traveling back and forth. They were surrounded by clouds. When they got closer to the sun, 16 gigantic and ancient gates appeared. They could cross those gates. "Those gates all lead to a special place, you have to use your keys to open them," said the leader of Shandong North. That's why there could only be 16 participants in the end at the great competition of Shuaiyu, because there were only 16 gates. What would there be behind the gates? Nobody knew, maybe that the leader of Shandong North didn't know either. Those gates were next to each other. From above, it had the shape of a semicircle. Some gates were very high, some less. "Those who have the last 2 keys can enter the 14th and 15th gates," said the leader of Shandong North. Quickly, Yun Fei Yang and the 14th person walked to the gates, took out their keys and opened the gates. The atmosphere vibrated and the gates opened themselves. A gigantic vortex appeared and the 2 silhouettes disappeared. "13th, said the leader. It was the girl with the ice soul skill. She also entered the special area. The leader continued calling people until the 10th, but at that moment, he was speechless. He had also been observing people while calling them, and he had tried to guess who the last ones would be, but Lin Feng was still there. Lin Feng had broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer and was in the top 10. With his cultivation level, the leader could be mistaken. Even if Lin Feng was using a secret skill to hide his cultivation level, the leader of Shandong North would still know Lin Feng's cultivation level. He looked at Lin Feng in a strange way and said, "From 6th to 10th, you can go." Those people immediately moved to the special areas. The leader was still astonished. Lin Feng was still standing there, calmly and motionless. Lin Feng was in the top 5. Di Ling and Duan Wudao were there as he had expected, but Lin Feng was still there. The leader was also surprised about Tang Yuyu. He would have expected her to be at the end of the top 10. Are they 4th and 5th, thought the leader of Shandong North. He then continued, 4th and 5th, go. I'm off, said Jun Mo Shi to Tang Yuyu and Lin Feng. He immediately moved to the special area. Duan Wudao also went to the 4th special area. Tang Yuyu and Lin Feng were still there. The leader was astonished. Even the outstanding young men of Shandong were astonished. What was going on? Lin Feng and Tang Yu were in the top 3. Tang Yuyu, Hao Peng was staring at Tang Yuyu in a perverted way. His eyes were twinkling. 3rd, go, said the leader. But Tang Yuyu and Lin Feng remained motionless. Instead, Di Ling entered the 3rd special area. 2nd, go, said the leader, his heart was pounding. Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu were 1st and 2nd. I'm off, said Tang Yuyu to Lin Feng. She then used her jade key to open the gate and disappeared. Lin Feng was the last one left. Lin Feng. The leader of Shandong North and the others were absolutely astonished. The first one was Lin Feng. But he had only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer. How could he be first? Interesting, thought Qing Chan. At that moment he was smiling. That cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer was interesting. Do you have the first jade key? Asked the leader of Shandong North. He couldn't believe his eyes. Lin Feng stretched his arm and opened his hand where the first jade key appeared. I'm very surprised, said the leader sighing. Lin Feng, you will benefit a lot from the 1st special area. You have 7 days there. Only the first key can allow you to stay there for 7 days. Cherish that opportunity and the treasures you will acquire. It will not only help you now with your cultivation level, but it will help you in the future too. Many doors will be open for you in the future. Thank you, said Lin Feng, nodding. Xue Wuchang had told him that the 1st special area would be extra special. It seemed like that place was going to be extraordinary. You can go, said the leader. Lin Feng nodded and went to the 1st gate and opened it. A vortex appeared and Lin Feng disappeared from everyone's field of vision. The leader looked at Lin Feng disappearing and then said, Hao Peng, bring Xue Wuchang to me. Roger, leader, said Hao Peng while nodding. His silhouette flickered and he disappeared. In a flash, he came back with Xue Wuchang. Leader, said Xue Wuchang while bowing. Wuchang, I'm very surprised by the current rankings. Tell me, how are those 15 people? Oh, said Xue Wuchang while nodding and then continued, Di Ling and Duan Wudao are extremely strong, they are brutal and violent. They still haven't used their full strength because all of their opponents so far were very weak. They are 3rd and 4th. The 5th one, Jun Mo Shi, can use vital qi of righteousness. He is very enigmatic and unfathomable. Besides, I don't know what his spirit is. Then the 6th one is Xue Sha and the 10th one is the dead tree, they are similarly strong. Maybe, with the benefits of the special area, the difference will be made for the end of the competition. The most important person amongst the higher numbers is actually the last one, Yun Fei Yang. He has a very deep knowledge of cultivation. He shouldn't be the last one, he will be in the top 10. I noticed that too, he's hiding his true strength. He is very enigmatic, said the leader when he heard him. What about Tang Yu and Lin Feng? Tang Yu and Lin Feng entered the temples together. Tang Yu's agility techniques and spirit are very particular. She definitely belongs to the top 10 in terms of strength. I don't know how it will end for her though. We will see, said Xue Wuchang. People would fight until the end to be in the top 10. What about Lin Feng? Lin Feng. Xue Wuchang made a pause and said, he has a terrifying power of understanding. With the strength of the 5th Xian Qi layer, he used the memories he obtained in the temple to kill people who had broken through to the very top of the 7th Xian Qi layer. He is very young too. I don't quite understand him either. Chapter 652, Amazing Sword, a cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer who can kill people of the 7th Xian Qi layer. The leader of Shandong North was astonished. Xue Wuchang, what do you think will happen in the first special area? Asked the leader. His cultivation will improve and not only a little. Even if he doesn't break through to the 6th Xian Qi layer, he will be able to defeat cultivators of the 8th Xian Qi layer, said Xue Wuchang. What if I help him break through to the next cultivation layer? Leader. Xue Wuchang was astonished. The leader wanted to help Lin Feng, so. Lin Feng was able to get the first jade key. I hope we have him on our side, said the leader. Then he looked at Qing Chan and said, you and Lin Feng should make friends. Qing Chan didn't know what to say. She had talked Lin Feng because he was alone. She didn't want him to feel embarrassed or lonely. She hadn't thought that he had such monstrous natural abilities at that moment. To the extent that the leader of Shandong North would attach so much importance to him. I will do my best, said Qing Chan while bowing. Qing Chan lowered her head and smiled wryly. The leader of Shandong North nodded and looked at the outstanding boys and girls. You are all the most outstanding disciples of Shandong. Those people are the most outstanding people of Shuiyu. They all belong to clans and sects who are not as wealthy as us. They relied on themselves and nobody else to reach such cultivation levels. If Shandong helps them, they will become monstrously powerful. If you manage to steal their heart, it will be beneficial for Shandong and for yourselves. Indeed, leader, said everybody while nodding. A few girls were looking at Qing Chan enviously. She had chosen the best one, Lin Feng. The one who was considered as precious by the leader of Shandong North. Alright, I'm going to talk to the respectable master now. The crowd was surprised. The leader of Shandong North was going to talk to the respectable master about Lin Feng. Hao Peng was pulling a long face. He despised the geniuses of Shuiyu, but the leader of Shandong North attached such importance to him. He was even going to talk to the respectable master about Lin Feng. Lin Feng entered the special area and found a thick, rich qi of the earth and sky surrounding him. It was 5 times denser than the one outside in the normal areas of Shandong and 10 times denser than in the outside world. It meant that practicing cultivation was also 10 times faster in such an environment. The qi of the earth and the sky was 10 times thicker than outside, but apart from that the world didn't seem much different. It was just vast and arid. There was absolutely nothing. There was no sun and no moon either, but it was bright. Lin Feng made a step forwards. He had used the first jade key to come to that place. And there was nothing. How could that be useful to him? How could that be helpful for my cultivation, thought Lin Feng. However, that arid place looked similar to where Lin Feng had obtained the sword memories. It had then fallen down from the sky and Lin Feng had been able to visualize it. There had been nothing else but a sword. However, at that moment, there was only Lin Feng and nothing else. Is there anything special here, thought Lin Feng. He was in the best special area. There couldn't be only a thick qi of the earth and sky. Otherwise it wouldn't have deserved to be called the first area. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and started practicing cultivation. It seemed like that vast and arid area came from an ancient memory. It looked ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. In Lin Feng's heart, there was only one sword. Lin Feng was remembering the memories from the sword temple in that arid area. That sword appeared again in front of him and it was surrounded by an incredible quantity of sword energy. A real sword that could lacerate the universe. There was nothing else but the sword for Lin Feng at that moment. He was focused on it. Lin Feng released some sword energy which whistled in the air. The sword chi rolled in the atmosphere. It was terrifyingly sharp. If anyone had been around they would have gotten lacerated by that sword. That sword is in front of me. Strange, thought Lin Feng as he abruptly opened his eyes. A terrifying sword light flashed and his heart started pounding. In front of him, in the desert there was a sword and it was suspended in air. It seemed like it had existed since the creation of times. It definitely didn't look like it had just appeared. From that gigantic sword there was monstrous intent. Or more precisely, it looked like a special category of sword intent. One glance and he had the impression that the sword was an almighty warlord and could destroy the continent of the 9 clouds. Srrr. Srrr. In spite of Lin Feng's willpower and determination, he still got propelled backwards a few steps from that sword intent. It is not an illusion. It is real, thought Lin Feng with his heart was pounding violently. A real sword had appeared in front of him and it contained real intent. Such a powerful strength was terrifying. One couldn't understand it by looking at it with their eyes, they needed to use their heart to understand it. How come it's like this? And how come the sword memories appeared here in reality? Lin Feng couldn't calm down. Was it? Did he only need to think about something for it to appear? Everything seemed to be an illusion except for the sword and its intent, those were absolutely real. And Lin Feng wasn't crazy. He slowly walked forwards and sensed that real sword. The terrifying sword intent was cutting at his skin so he didn't continue moving forwards. All of this was part of the memories, and now those memories had turned into reality. It was astonishing. A terrifying sword energy emerged out of Lin Feng's body and whistled in the atmosphere. There was sword energy everywhere. Lin Feng was trying to walk steadily, he wanted to actually sense that real sword and merge with it. In Lin Feng's heart, there were only 4 words, I can do it. The sword chi was becoming increasingly violent and it was lacerating the atmosphere. But Lin Feng was convinced he could do it. He still had the feeling that it was extremely difficult. The sword energy was monstrously strong, more than what he had expected. It didn't belong to his strength. If it had been a part of his strength it wouldn't have appeared in the air out of nowhere. What I think becomes true, thought Lin Feng, his heart was still pounding. His sword energy became stronger as he ran towards that gigantic sword in front of him. He wanted to see it for real. Lin Feng stretched his hand and put it on the sword. An incredible sword energy which could cut through the entire world spread in the air. Lin Feng and the sword seemed to have fused together, he was the sword and the sword was Lin Feng. Rise! Lin Feng raised his arm. It was very easy as he managed to rise that sword up in the air. Lin Feng was sure that if he had been a really strong cultivator, those geniuses at the great competition of Shuiyu would have all been insects in front of him. With that terrifying sword energy, he could destroy anything. Lin Feng made another step and jumped up in the air as if he had been trying to attack the sky. There was nothing else in that world but his sword. Lin Feng looked like a sword god. His body was like a sword which could annihilate everything. Will I be like that in the future, thought Lin Feng, unable to think about anything but his sword. Chapter 653, Sword and Haruka. Lin Feng closed his eyes and remained in the air while firmly holding his sword. He was calmly sensing that extreme strength. He was using his heart to understand the sword. That strength didn't belong to him, but he could clearly sense that the sword energy was reaching the clouds, his sword cultivation was drastically improving. He didn't know how to go and look for it, it was just there in front of him. How convenient. He could immediately sense it this way. He had a feeling that he could control swords better than a moment before. How strong he was becoming. He could understand and grasp information faster and faster, like a sponge. That sword intent was becoming a part of himself. In the future, if he could use it, he would progress much faster. That's why the leader of Shingang North told me that what I learned inside the special area would improve my cultivation, and also help me in the future, thought Lin Feng. That special area was magical, all the things he thought about could become real. Then he could use them to study, how wonderful. If he had the ability to practice there, he would progress incredibly quickly. After a few months in that incredible area, his power of understanding would also drastically increase. The vast and arid area was filled with sword energy, there was nothing else. He looked particularly proud in the sky. Then he closed his eyes and continued releasing monstrous amounts of sword energy unconsciously. Lin Feng was studying sword cultivation deep in his heart, he was fusing together with his sword. It lasted for a long time, and even then Lin Feng was still immersed in that state. He couldn't stop these feelings that were extremely deep and profound. That kind of environment really helped him improve his power of understanding. Even if Lin Feng had some moments of consciousness, he still refused to open his eyes. He wanted to enjoy every single second in that marvelous place. Each time he visualized the sword, he could progress on the path of cultivation. Learning alone and learning from a strong cultivator were two different things. Extremely strong cultivators could dispel the clouds and see the sun, they could enlighten people with perfect wisdom and flawless teachings. But Lin Feng had become an extremely strong cultivator alone, all by himself. His power of understanding was way more advanced than the majority of people. Suddenly, Lin Feng abruptly opened his eyes and there was a terrifying sword light in the sky. It looked like sunlight, but it turned into a sword light. It looked like the sword of a killer. 5 days. I only have 2 more days, thought Lin Feng. Some rumbling sounds spread in the air and the sword lacerated the entire space. The earth and sky were shaking, the sword chi was cutting through them. Sirrr. A massive and terrifying amount of sword chi continued spreading in the atmosphere as the area was lacerated. Then the sword penetrated into the ground of the arid area. 2 more days. I could continue practicing sword cultivation, but I have more abilities that I need to improve, thought Lin Feng. He shook his body and the sword disappeared. The atmosphere became calm again as if nothing had ever happened. That place was truly incredible. After a short moment, Lin Feng sat down again, cross-legged. There was no sword anymore, however, a new world appeared, the world formed from the memories of the Haruka. Apart from his sword skills, Lin Feng also had the terrifying strength of the Haruka. He needed to understand it to improve it. The special area gradually turned dark like night. Then a gigantic golden Buddha appeared, it was sitting in suspended in air. Its golden light was dazzling, it was a real Buddha. It could protect all sentient beings from torment and sufferings. Facing the Buddha, there was a pitch-black body. It was releasing a terrifying evil energy which seemed extremely ancient. Just like the yin and the yang, those two seemed like they were fighting. The Buddha kept chanting some mantras in Sanskrit and golden letters came out of his mouth. Those golden letters turned into golden hands and then its entire body was surrounded by golden hands. On the evil statue there was a black light which turned into a yiksha, but it had the body of an asura. Those lights looked deadly. That black light was the exact opposite of the Prometheus, it was turning into an authentic devil from ancient times. Lin Feng abruptly opened his eyes and looked at the golden light and the black light. He couldn't help but shake, he was standing between the Buddha and the malevolent spirit. They were actually fighting right next him. Under his feet there were golden and black lights shining too. It was extremely intriguing that an authentic Haruka had appeared. It had the strength to destroy the universe. Lin Feng was standing between the two sides of the Haruka and had the feeling he was going to drown from their struggle. If someday I can transform into a gigantic golden Buddha and illuminate the world. Or turn into an evil and malevolent spirit, and then I could become a Haruka. And annihilate anybody standing in my way, thought Lin Feng. He felt like a hero, his heart was burning. He had only broken through to the 5th Xianqi layer, but he was able to participate at the great competition of Shuayu and dazzle everybody. People had even attached importance to him and respected him. They had told me that I was a rare bird, but compared with authentically strong cultivators, he was still too weak. The Xianqi layer was nothing. That statue with the golden hands could destroy the entire planet if it was challenged. The Haruka could even destroy people's hearts. Lin Feng was convinced that there were no gods in that world, Buddha, or Haruka. All that mattered in the end was strength, the strong could annihilate the rest. No matter how strong the Haruka was, a cultivator could become a Haruka. When Lin Feng thought about it, he sat down and looked at the battle between the Haruka and the Buddha. Around his body was a golden light which turned into a gigantic golden Buddha. His entire body was changing and turning into a real Buddha. He then slowly rose up in the atmosphere. He was looking down at the earth, he was above the sky and the stars were within reach. The planet was tiny, even though Lin Feng knew that it wasn't his own strength, he could still clearly sense it and feel it. At the same time he was studying the teachings of the Buddha and the Haruka, understanding their power. Everything he could understand was going to belong to him and he would be able to use it after leaving the special area. One day after, Lin Feng was still in the air and his body turned black, he had transformed into an evil spirit. "Go!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. In the atmosphere an Azura shot towards the ground. It seemed like it could annihilate anything as a gigantic sound spread in the air and a large crater formed. It was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom, it looked like an endless abyss. I really can't wait to use that kind of strength later. Lin Feng stretched his hand and continued practicing evil cultivation, he looked cold. He wasn't a Buddha at that moment, he was a malevolent spirit. I've never really sensed the strength of the evil swords, but here in this special area. I can turn into a malevolent spirit and then I could use the hands of that body to use the evil swords. Lin Feng slowly closed his eyes and visualized the evil swords to summon them. In the air 9 swords appeared, they looked absolutely calm as they weren't moving at all. Lin Feng opened his eyes and the 9 swords were emitting a terrifying evil light, but then they merged together and became one sword. In that sword was a terrifying evil energy, as well as a terrifying sword energy. That sword looked like that of a sanguinary killer, it looked bloodthirsty and cruel. The evil sword is even more powerful than my gigantic sword. Besides, my gigantic sword is an illusion whereas the evil sword is real and I can actually hold it in my hands. Unfortunately, I cannot control it, thought Lin Feng. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the evil sword. Black clouds started spreading in the air, but at that moment the evil sword looked calm. The evil sword was an object malevolent spirits could use. Maybe, only a malevolent spirit could control the evil sword. And right now Lin Feng was an evil and malevolent spirit. Chapter 654, coming out Lin Feng was holding the evil sword and the result of the combination of the 9 swords. Lin Feng had turned into an evil spirit, his eyes looked extremely evil, ice-cold, cruel and emotionless. The evil sword was releasing a monstrous evil chi which had fused with his heart. The evil sword had its own life and its own intent. With it, it could influence people's cultivation. Even when he had turned into an evil spirit his body was getting polluted and influenced. If an ordinary person fused with the evil sword, they would be unable to escape unless they turned into an evil spirit. Go! Lin Feng moved his hand, the sword streaked through the sky. It seemed like a fissure had appeared in the air where it had cut. Some rumbling sounds in the air and then the sword disappeared. Lin Feng just had the feeling that he was in a dream. Having the ability to control that sword was incredible, but he would regularly have that feeling in the future. Someday, he would become a real Haruka and then slaughter everybody. With that evil sword, he would be able to annihilate everything. Lin Feng felt extremely happy and free from worries after that experience. He had the feeling that someone had just showed him the path to enlightenment. Boom boom boom. The special area started shaking intensely. Lin Feng frowned, that world didn't seem too solid. It was probably very difficult for people to remain in it for a long time. Actually, it was probably impossible, otherwise people from Shandong would spend all eternally practicing in there to become incredible geniuses. They would resemble Hao Peng or someone similar. They would be really terrifying. The first special area was a perfect world to increase one's power of understanding. It saved cultivators 1 year or even 10 years of time. That kind of sensation was incredible, most people would never have such a sensation in their entire life. Sometimes, people couldn't break through to the next cultivation layer. If that was the case, then entering the special area could help them overcome their difficulties. Boom boom boom, some loud bangs sounded. The space was shaking, Lin Feng was stupefied. He turned his head around and saw a silhouette walking towards him. Huh, what was going on? There were other people in the special area. That was the first special area, Shandong wouldn't let anything go wrong. But there was a person at that moment. And Lin Feng didn't know who it was. Back. When Lin Feng saw the silhouette getting closer, he started moving back like the wind. However, it was useless, that person was too faster. Lin Feng couldn't see any face though, only a silhouette. It doesn't look good, Lin Feng was astonished. That person was too fast, he couldn't move faster than he was. Bzzzzz, Lin Feng shivered, a finger landed on Lin Feng's shoulder that made him shake violently. He then shook his head, it was as if he had fallen into a coma. The pure qi all around him started rolling violently and spinning at full speed. Lin Feng's qi was becoming stronger and stronger, it was turning into an incredible essence. Don't worry. I am anointing your head with the purest cream, I am enlightening you with perfect wisdom. Your strength determines the quantity of qi of the earth and sky that you can absorb. With your cultivation level, you don't need to resist. You can easily absorb it and your cultivation level will increase. Just let things go smoothly, said a voice which resonated in Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng had to stop resisting and let the qi flow in his body. After a while the voice disappeared from Lin Feng's head and he was sitting cross-legged. He was using his cosmos burning sun skill to make the entire surroundings burn. Huge flames of qi were burning around in the air. A sun pattern appeared on Lin Feng's body. In the sky, even though there was initially no sun or moon, a sun appeared and started shining upon Lin Feng's body. The fire was becoming hotter and hotter. Boom, that terrifying fire became rampant, Lin Feng was bathing in a gigantic sea of flames. That terrifying fire seemed like it could burn the entire space. There was only that fire in Lin Feng's heart. He slowly stood up but his eyes were closed as before. He raised his hands and 2 suns appeared. Those 2 suns rose up and floated in the sky. Then, more suns appeared, up until the 9th sun. They were shining upon Lin Feng's body. This time, Lin Feng had an infinite quantity of pure qi sun fire. The suns belonged to him and he could use all of their fire. Burn the cosmos, thought Lin Feng. The flames started burning even more violently, there was nothing but flames all around Lin Feng. The entire arid and vast area was covered with an infinite number of flames. Lin Feng opened his eyes and saw the fire. So that was what it looked like when the skill reached its maximum. When it became an authentic sun skill. It could really burn the entire cosmos. Boom boom boom. The vast and arid area kept shaking, it was more and more violent. It seemed like it was going to collapse. Lin Feng looked sad. 7 days. He really wanted to stay there longer, every day in there was wonderful. He had made the same progress that he would have made in 1 year's time outside. Unfortunately, he could only stay 7 days in that great world and now it was over. Actually, only Lin Feng was missing in the outside world, everyone else had already finished their time. They all looked more mature, as if they had all made great progress. They hadn't left him though. They raised their heads and looked at the first gate, which was also the highest one. Lin Feng had obtained the first jade key, so he got to train there. They were wondering when he would come out. The first special area is the best one and is also the place where one can spend the most time. It must be much better than all the special areas where we went. Lin Feng has been there for 7 days, even if he hasn't changed his skills or anything he should have broken through to the next cultivation layer, said Tang Yu while watching the first gate. Actually, Lin Feng was the only one who had spent 7 days in a special area. Tang Yu had been able to stay 6 days in the second area, and she had benefited a lot from those 6 days. Breaking through to the next cultivation layers is only a matter of time. Even if Lin Feng doesn't finish at the top of the rankings this time, he has already obtained a lot and will have a brilliant future in front of him. He will be even more successful in the future. He is able to progress faster than us, said Jun Mo Shi in a low voice. When Umo heard that, he groaned coldly and looked solemn. He hated Lin Feng for having obtained the first key. He wished he had spent 7 days in the special area. He didn't even have 5 days to practice cultivation. But now, 7 days had finally passed. Outside and around the gate, some clouds appeared as the gate opened itself. A silhouette appeared and descended from the sky. That person's chi was different. However, his cultivation level hadn't changed. He had only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer. 5th Xian Qi layer. The leader of Shandong North was surprised. But then sharp lights twinkled in his eyes and a magnificent and radiant smile appeared on his face. That boy is hiding things. If the leader of Shandong North could only see that Lin Feng had broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer, it meant that he was being fooled by Lin Feng's secret skill to hide his cultivation level. Chapter 655, The Prologue. He's only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer. Almost everybody looked at him with disdain. He had spent so much time in a place where the qi of the earth and sky were extremely strong and rich. In the end it seemed like he had been practicing for 10 days. Besides, breaking through to the next cultivation layer after the 5th or 6th Xian Qi layer wasn't easy at all. It might be that Lin Feng would remain at the 5th Xian Qi layer his entire life. Maybe he wouldn't be able to condense pure qi anymore and would remain at the top of the 5th Xian Qi layer. Sending a person like you to the first area was a waste of resources, said Umo indifferently. Lin Feng had spent 7 days in there and hadn't even broken through to the next cultivation layer. If Umo had been in there, he would have become a monster. Umo had entered the 7th special area, but he had only been able to stay there for less than 4 days. During that time he had sensed what it was like to break through to the Tian Qi layer. He had realized what it was like to become a monstrously strong cultivator. And concerning his real strength, his cultivation level was now at the very top of the 8th Xian Qi layer. He was convinced that those 4 days spent in the special area had enlightened him. He had understood things which would help him break through to the Tian Qi layer at some point. When Lin Feng heard Umo, he just smiled indifferently. He didn't have to justify himself because it was pointless, fighting would be proof enough. Even though we could continue the great competition of Shuiyu now, if you want to consolidate your cultivation here in Shandong, we can delay it by 2 days, said the leader of Shandong North slowly. Everybody looked at him and nobody replied. Nobody was willing to postpone it. Leader, since everything was planned already, let's not delay it, said Diling indifferently. He didn't want to delay the competition. Yes, he's right. We're about to start the last battles. Everybody is waiting for them now. If we delay it then everybody will be upset and worry. Let's continue now, said Umo. Since he had been injured by Lin Feng during the first round in the evil area, he was furious. On top of that, he hadn't obtained any treasures there. During the second round, in the Flood Dragon Cave, he wanted to prove to everybody how amazing he was. He had grabbed a jade key but then Shueisha stole it, and then She had attacked him too. In the end he had only been able to grab the 7th jade key. Umo was furious, he needed to prove to everybody that he was actually strong. Alright, said the leader of Shingang North. He didn't insist when he saw that everybody was unwilling to stay. Alright, you guys can bring them to the exit of Shingang, said the leader to the young people who all nodded. The leader was asking them to bring them back, which was obviously another attempt to make couples. Qing-chan, didn't you want to leave Shingang for some sightseeing? This time, I will allow you to go and watch the great competition of Shueyu, said the leader of Shingang. Qing-chan was astonished, she quickly glanced at Lin Feng with her beautiful eyes and then nodded. She perfectly understood what it meant. He was asking her to go and make friends with the genius, Lin Feng. Alright. You are all geniuses, so don't worry if you lose your battles. You made it so far already, concentrate on your cultivation now, said the leader of Shingang, trying to comfort everybody. Alright, go now. We're off, goodbye leader. Leader, thank you. Everybody was saying goodbye to the leader or thanking him. After all, he was the one who had let them enter the special areas and enabled them to practice cultivation. They could only be grateful. Besides, the leader of Shingang had to be extremely strong. Everybody left. Lin Feng was flying through the sky when someone suddenly appeared next to him. It was the girl who had talked to him before. Qing-chan looked at Lin Feng, smiled wryly and said, I wouldn't have thought that you would fool me. You are actually monstrously powerful. You got the first jade key and entered the first special area. You can only use those special areas once a year. Even the leader of Shingang North cannot use it more than once a year. This time, you surprisingly had that incredible opportunity. You never asked me, so why would you say that I fooled you, said Lin Feng while shaking his hand. He was a bit surprised, only once a year. Only the most outstanding cultivators. This time, Shingang had opened the doors of the special area for the 16 of them and had enabled them to increase their cultivation level. What was the reason? Were the participants of the great competition of Shueyu more important than the disciples of Shingang themselves? It didn't seem plausible. In terms of strength and natural abilities, the geniuses of Shueyu couldn't be stronger than the geniuses of Shingang. How could they rival with them? You're right, said Qing-chan. Lin Feng, do you know why I am here? It's only a coincidence. It's because I talked to you for a few minutes and then the leader of Shingang North asked me to chase you. He hopes that we can become friends and that you will contribute to the glory of Shingang. Lin Feng hadn't replied because Qing-chan had instead. Lin Feng nodded and said, I knew that. Qing-chan smiled resplendently and looked at the sky. Then she whispered, will you accept? I won't, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. Qing-chan nibbled her lips, turned her head to look at him with a wry smile, you seem quite sure. You are leaving me absolutely no margin. Can't you give me face? If I had met you before when I didn't have feelings for anyone else, maybe. You're so beautiful, charming and nice, I would have fallen in love with you. Said Lin Feng with a gentle smile. What you mean to say is that I'm too late to receive your feelings? Asked Qing-chan with a provocative smile on her face. Lin Feng smiled wryly. He nibbled his lips and remained silent. Joining Shingang would be incredible for you. With your personality, plus the education Shingang would provide you, you would become so much stronger, said Qing-chan in a low voice. My heart refuses. It would just become a prison for me, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. There were too many forbidden things in Shingang. If he joined Shingang he really would become stronger, but on the other hand, he would lose his freedom. He would have to listen to Shingang's orders etc. Lin Feng couldn't live under restrictions. Qing-chan seemed like she could and couldn't understand at the same time. She smiled back and said, no matter what your reply is, if you like me or not. I still want to get out of Shingang and leave with you, yes. The leader of Shandong had told Qing Chan to stay with him when he was outside of Shandong. Lin Feng wasn't going to refuse. The crowd was leaving Shandong and arriving back to the normal world again. The qi of the earth and sky were becoming thinner. They were not used to how little there was. The 15 cultivators left along with some people from Shandong and headed for the fighting stage at the great competition of Xueyu. When they returned, they found that the fighting stage had become larger. And around it the crowd had become even noisier. Everyone had shown to watch the end of the competition. They arrived. At that moment, the crowd saw a group of people in the sky. They had left several days before and were finally coming back. Finally, the 15 strong cultivators were back. Who was going to dazzle this time? Chapter 656, Monstrously Strong Cultivators, the Prologue. There are some people with them, they must be cultivators from Shandong, thought the crowd when they saw that there were more than 15 people in the sky. There were beautiful girls there. The strong cultivators had gone to Shandong and were returning with Shandong girls. They were incredibly beautiful and were also extraordinarily strong female cultivators. The 15 finalists also looked different, as if they had changed. It seems like they have greatly benefited from the excursion, thought the crowd. The 15 finalists' eyes were twinkling. They were the strongest cultivators from the 13 countries of Xueyu. Everybody was wondering how strong they had become now that they had benefited from Shandong's treasures. They had obtained jade keys with numbers from the second round. Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu had finished first and second, but they would probably fall in the rankings during the final round. Boom! All the cultivators landed on the fighting stage as an incredible qi dashed to the skies. The crowd could sense how strong their qi had become. Lin Feng has become stronger. This time, he will astonish everybody, thought Han Man, staring at Lin Feng from his bronze mask. Ling Xiao, you Xiao Xiao. What a glory for you, you are such dazzling cultivators. In the distance a voice rolled in the sky. The crowd was surprised as they turned their heads. There were a group of people flickering in the sky. The leader had a golden Chang Pao and looked domineering. He held a zither and a sword, he was probably skilled at using them. Teacher, said Ling Xiao and Yu Xiao Xiao, surprised. That old person was their teacher and the patriarch of the strongest sect in the Magnolia Empire, the Yun Xiao sect. In Magnolia, the Yun Xiao sect was even stronger than the Imperial City clan of Magnolia. The Yun Xiao sect also made most of the more important decisions in their country. The crowd was happy to see Ling Xiao and Yu Xiao Xiao's teacher. They were both amazing cultivators in Xueyu and they were the two most outstanding cultivators of Magnolia. Their teacher had come to Mi Chen, so he must really care about the results of the great competition of Xueyu. The patriarch of the Yun Xiao sect nodded to them and said, no need to pay attention to anyone else, just focus and try to be the most dazzling ones. Yes teacher, they said together. They had joined the great competition of Xueyu to win. Could Magnolia ever dazzle anywhere? Asked a cold voice. That voice came from far away where a black cloud had appeared in the sky. It was surrounded by a monstrous evil qi. What a terrifying qi, thought the crowd, they were shaking. Even though the person who spoke was still far away, their qi could be felt by everybody there. It seemed like they were going to drown at it, how terrifying. Mr. Yin Sha. Several people had recognized that old man. He was the patriarch of the Tian Sha sect, Mr. Yin Sha. His cultivation was terrifying. And not far from him was someone else. That person was extremely skinny, like a skeleton. And it seemed like everything was dying around them. Teacher! Teacher! Shui Sha and the dead tree both shouted that word at the same time. Two strong cultivators from Black Wings had arrived, Shui Sha's teacher and the dead tree's teacher. Their teachers had come to see them because they also attached great importance to the great competition of Xueyu. Walking corpses. Utterly worthless vegetating people, said the patriarch of the Yun Xiao sect mockingly when he heard Mr. Yin Sha. Mr. Yin Sha was smiling strangely and most evilly. The first of the competition will be Di Ling, said a loud voice at that moment. Several people from Firmament had arrived too. There was a middle-aged man in a dragon robe, his chi was something like a warlord. It seemed like everybody disappeared when they near him, as if they had to submit themselves. Di Ling's chi was very similar. "Father," shouted Di Ling to the middle-aged man. Di Ling's eyes were twinkling as he said, "Dad, I will finish first." "I'm waiting to see that." "I hope so," said the middle-aged man full of confidence. Di Ling represented the Firmament Empire, how could he lose? He was the best. Yumo's teacher also arrived with some people from the Firmament Empire, but he just nodded to Umo. Di Ling was the most important person there. Even though Umo was extremely strong, nobody could offend Di Ling. Umo didn't have the Firmament blood like Di Ling, so there was a huge difference. The difference between the two might be defined by their blood alone. He wasn't aiming for the first place, but for second. The Firmament Empire had to dazzle. After that, people from Magnolia and Black Wings also arrived and surrounded the fighting stage. Everybody wanted to watch the great competition of Xueyu. Those geniuses were the future of Xueyu. A few dozens years later and they would become the leaders of their empires and countries. They had to be monstrously strong then or else their empires would crumble. But there was someone else, and he was smiling faintly. That person looked calm and indifferent towards everyone else there. However, that person's chi was that of a king. Why wasn't he saying anything? He just looked at Jun Mo Shi, and remained standing in the middle of the crowd. It seemed like he was communicating something. Jun Mo Shi turned around to look at him too. A faint smile appeared. That person was his father, the Emperor of Dragon Mountain. "They're all here." The strongest cultivators from Xueyu came. The crowd was absolutely speechless this time. It was also a gathering of the strongest cultivators of Xueyu and the gathering of geniuses. Everybody had come for the great competition of Xueyu. It seems like the competition is going to be something to remember. The crowd was extremely excited with their fists clenched into balls. It really proved how important the competition was. Everyone could watch the future leaders of Xueyu improve during the final round of the competition. After it ended, nobody knew what they would do to continue progressing. Hee. Everybody has come to meet Cheng for the great competition of Xueyu. What an honor it is for us from Xueyu to host this competition. However, Xuewu Chang had things to add. Even though these cultivators are your offspring, no matter what happens you cannot intervene. I am talking to the extremely strong seniors now. Otherwise, Shen Gong will come to punish you, threatened Xuewu Chang calmly. Everybody shivered. Xuewu Chang was incredible. He was stronger than those emperors and powerful patriarchs. They all respected and feared Shen Gong. Not everybody could win the competition, so Xuewu Chang was warning them in advance. How aggressive! Shen Gong is too scary, thought the crowd surprised. Even those strong cultivators didn't dare defy Shen Gong. Everybody remained silent. Alright, let's just watch calmly. The great competition of Xueyu is a fair and equitable competition, said Xuewu Chang indifferently. He looked to the candidates and said, "Alright, let's get ready for the last battles." Chapter 657, Forfeit. Everybody kept silent when Xuewu Chang spoke. It was 7 days after Xuewu Chang had sent the fighters to the special area, and now they had finally come back. The rules had changed too. People weren't going to be eliminated in one battle this time. There would be too much luck involved if they did that again. He had said that everybody would fight each other so that the strongest fighters would stand out. Xuewu Chang wasn't done talking. This time, the last battles are about to start. Everybody is going to fight against each other. The number of victories will determine your position in the rankings. The fighters nodded. Indeed, that kind of battle was extremely fair. The one with the most victories would be ranked first. Nobody could afford to be careless with each fight. Everybody had to win if they wanted to dazzle. This time, almost the entire population of Xueyu was watching. They wanted to see who the most dazzling cultivators of the region were. Those with the best cultivation levels, skills and techniques should put on an amazing show. Besides, the strongest cultivators of the 4 empires were there to watch too, Shingon included. There is something else I want to tell you. This time I will allow you to give up. If you feel like you have no chance of winning and that fighting could affect your following battles, you can give up. Of course, that will count as a loss, said Shui Wuchang. The crowd remained silent. That would allow fighters to save their strength and energy for their next battle without being exhausted. But would it be worth it for a loss? Besides, the order of the battles is based on the same principle as the previous battles. The one with the first jade key can challenge who they want. So Lin Feng will be the first one and then it will be Tang Yuyu's turn. Then after everybody is done battling, it's Lin Feng's turn again. However, there is one rule. You cannot challenge your own self and you cannot challenge someone who has just battled. You must wait until the next round to challenge them, explained Shui Wuchang. As before, the ones with the best jade keys could challenge first, but it wouldn't provide with such great advantages. Eventually, everyone would fight everybody else. Everybody would have to fight each other without exception. Apart from strength, endurance was going to be tested here too. I told you the rules and I think everybody understands. Now, everybody move aside. Lin Feng, stay here and choose your first opponent. Alright, nodded Lin Feng. He stayed in the middle of the fighting stage and the others gradually moved away. All eyes were on Lin Feng and they wondering who he would choose first. You, said Lin Feng, pointing at the 14th person. That person's strong point was physical strength, his body was like an indestructible iron wall. That person deeply stared at Lin Feng, he expected that he'd be chosen. Lin Feng would probably fight against the strongest cultivators later. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang were good friends so he didn't want to fight him first. Boom boom. That person was making the ground shake after each step. It seemed like the fighting stage was going to cave in. Give up, I don't want to hurt you and influence your next battles, said Lin Feng indifferently. That person was surprised at how arrogant Lin Feng was. That person was 14th but he was extremely strong. And now Lin Feng was telling him to give up because he didn't want to hurt him. Everyone was surprised when they heard Lin Feng. Another step made the atmosphere vibrate. Even though I only spent 1 day in the special area, I also progressed. Besides, with my corporeal strength, I can fight you. You might win but I want to try at least, said that person. Lin Feng had increased his sword cultivation in the special area and might be able to kill him with one sword attack. But that person was really strong too. If he didn't fight the first battle, how would he be able to fight the next battles? He would lose credibility. Lin Feng slightly nodded and said, alright, let's fight then. Lin Feng made a step forwards, and in a flash his sword emitted whistling sounds in the atmosphere. He was placing pressure on the physical strength of his opponent. Sword force and physical strength force were colliding in the air. That person violently trampled on the ground towards Lin Feng when he sensed how sharp the sword energy was. Boom boom boom. A terrifying physical strength was shaking the entire fighting stage violently. Physical strength cannot win against my sword, whispered Lin Feng. And then he launched forwards. Sirrr. Sirrr. A terrifying sharp sound spread in the air. It seemed like sword chi was going to lacerate the entire atmosphere. Lin Feng's sword had started to look like that of a monstrously strong cultivator. It could finally lacerate the atmosphere, but it was only the start though. What a terrifying sword, thought the crowd, staring at Lin Feng's sword. 7 days before, they had seen how terrifying Lin Feng's indestructible golden body was. And then they saw Lin Feng's terrifying bloodthirsty sword. It was then that they had realized how terrifying he was. Now, they realized that Lin Feng's sword ability had increased. Lin Feng was giving off the feeling that he had perfectly fused with his sword. His sword intent was terrifying, it was more terrifying than any simple human sword fusion. His sword intent was jaw-dropping. As expected, sword intent, the crowd sighed. Last time they hadn't sensed it clearly, but this time the sword intent was fierce and swift. Lin Feng's opponent already looked glum. Lin Feng's sword was putting too much pressure on his body already, and that sword intent actually cutting the air. It was moving towards him and emitting terrifying whistling sounds. His own physical strength force didn't have a chance. As expected, I doubted his abilities previously because last time he defeated a cultivator of the same strength as me. But training in the first special area. I already lost now, thought Lin Feng's opponent. His physical strength force was moving back. He looked at Lin Feng and said, I lost. He had lost, he wasn't going to try and fight. Lin Feng's terrifying sword energies immediately disappeared. He didn't put any more pressure on his opponent, he just smiled and nodded. Then, he moved aside. After watching Lin Feng, the crowd was wondering what his real strength was. It seemed like he had only broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer, but with his terrifying sword intent he could easily annihilate cultivators of the 7th Xian Qi layer. He was probably hiding his real cultivation level. Lin Feng had probably become stronger. People were impatient to see Lin Feng's next battles to see how strong he had actually become. Who would be able to defeat him and his sword? Then it was Tang Yuyu's turn. She picked the Ice Soul Girl again. Last time, you lost. I challenge you again, said Tang Yuyu. That Ice Soul Girl looked glum. 7 days before she had been to figure out how to resist Tang Yuyu's punches. But she had had no idea, the only solution she could come up with was speed. She had to be faster than Tang Yuyu, or her physical strength had to surpass that of Tang Yuyu. However, it seemed impossible. Especially seeing how Tang Yuyu had gone to the 2nd special area, and the Ice Soul Girl had gone to the 13th one. She had no chance. I forfeit, you win, said the Ice Soul Girl, unsurprisingly. She closed her eyes as if she was trying to save some strength and energy for her next battles. Tang Yuyu nodded. Just like Lin Feng, she moved back to her initial position. Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu had both won their first battles, so there were 13 more to go. Chapter 658, Poor Umo. The third battle was Di Ling against the 12th, and Di Ling had won. Then, Duan Wudao chose Qing Meng Xian and Qing Meng Xian gave up. Jun Mo. She looked at Umo and smiled indifferently. Jun Mo. She's smile made Umo upset, he was choosing him again. This time, I'm sure that I will win, said Umo, his pupils looked ice cold. 7 days before, he had taken everything to heart. Umo was an incredible cultivator, but he had surprisingly lost to Jun Mo. She from Dragon Mountain. He had lost face. Boom! A terrifying vortex appeared. There weren't many actions, no words, only a vortex which emerged out of Umo's body and moved towards Jun Mo. Shi. It looked dreadful. Vital Qi of Righteousness, said Jun Mo. Shi as a terrifying golden light emerged out of his body and rose up in the air. A gigantic Qi of Righteousness dashed to the skies. A gigantic vital energy of righteousness. Die, shouted Umo furiously. He then assaulted the atmosphere with his fists towards Jun Mo. Shi, who just stared back at Umo. His vital Qi of righteousness was incredible, it seemed like no evil Qi could pierce through it. Umo's punch made the Qi of righteousness fluctuate even more violently, it was insanely dashing to the skies now. Huh? Umo was astonished. How was that possible? He couldn't pierce through his vital energy of righteousness. He had broken through to the very top of the 8th Xian Qi layer, how could it be that difficult? His pupils turned black and white, some trigrams patterns appeared in his eyes as well as in his hand. He was persevering but wanted to destroy Jun Mo. Shi's Qi of righteousness. Boom! Boom! That terrifying vital energy of righteousness continued to dash towards the skies. June Mo she was bathing in a pure and holy and energy, the trigram's pattern still had no effect. June Mo she is even scarier than 7 days before, thought the crowd, shivering. His energy was as gigantic as a mountain. You thought that you had become strong enough to defeat me after training in that special place? Asked June Mo she. Mo was shaking. At that moment, June Mo she's eyes were twinkling and looked dazzling. It was the first time that such dazzling lights appeared in his eyes. Don't forget that I entered the 5th special area. Even before the special area I was stronger than you, so it makes sense that you are still weaker than me, said June Mo she, jumping forwards. His terrifying energy of righteousness invaded the entire atmosphere, there was nothing else but righteousness. Huh? The crowd was astonished. June Mo she's chi was really terrifying. It was entirely gold, was able to turn into a hurricane. But then, it formed into a golden dragon. The crowd could sense it, they felt tiny insects. Apart from the crowd, Mo also had that feeling. He felt like a piece of trash in front of that energy of righteousness which could annihilate any evil person. Mo had no more self-confidence. He was just staring at June Mo she bathing in his golden energy. You are a genius? Asked June Mo she mockingly. Those words painfully resonated in Mo's heart and brain. The terrifying dragon hurricane swept away and took Mo along with it. His body was blown away. June Mo she had an overwhelming victory. June Mo she won. The crowd was shaking. Everything had happened so fast, what was going on? The fight had just started. June Mo she released his energy of righteousness and oppressed Mo so much so that he flew away. The difference between the two was so much. June Mo she's words were resonating in people's thoughts. Was Mo a genius? Was he really one of the 8 most outstanding geniuses of Shuiyu? Was he too weak, or was June Mo she too strong? Mo groaned, the energy of righteousness had invaded his body and he was fighting it. Next, said June Mo she calmly, turning around and going back to his seat. Mo couldn't believe what he heard. No, we're not done, said Mo, suddenly looking particularly evil. He couldn't take his eyes off of June Mo she. Enough, shouted a voice which resonated in Mo's brain painfully. Mo raised his head and saw a pair of ice-cold eyes staring at him. I told you. On the path of cultivation, your heart must become as solid as a mountain if you don't want it to break, said June Mo she. He had won. For the 6th battle, Shui Sha chose Yunfei Yang, just like Lin Feng had expected. Yunfei Yang immediately forfeited. The 7th battle was Mo's turn, but because he had already been chosen and had already fought, he would have to wait for the next fight. Qi Qing Jian Ling Xiao chose Ku Yaotong the dead tree. Both of them were part of the 8 most outstanding disciples of Shuiyu. This time, Qi Qing Jian showed no mercy. He immediately unsheathed 7 swords which all contained sword intent. The dead tree had death in his eyes as he opened them. In a flash, everything was filled with a dead energy. But in the air, Ling Zhao's swords cut through the energy. Rosy clouds emerged out of the swords and dashed to the skies. Soon after Ku Yaotong lost. There were only 15 people, so when it arrived to Lu Yuqin Yu Xiao Zhao's turn, everybody had already fought once. So she chose the 14th cultivator and won. During the 2nd round, Lin Feng chose the Ice Soul girl. Using his sword intent he destroyed the girl's ice soul. His sword couldn't be frozen, thus Lin Feng won again. Tang Yuyu chose the one with the silver sword and won as well. It was their 2nd victory already. Then, Di Ling chose Qing Meng Xian, who immediately forfeited. Then, Duan Wudao chose Ku Yaotong. Everybody thought that the battle would be disastrous, but Duan Wudao was way too violent and powerful. It seemed like he only held disdain for the dead tree, even though Duan Wudao was younger than him. He had destroyed him in one punch and won. June Mo Shi this time chose Lu Yuqin Yu Xiao Xiao and won. Then, Shuaisha chose to fight against Ling Xiao. Shuaisha's deadly qi collided with Ling Xiao's sword and there was a huge explosion. However, in the end Shuaisha won. Shuaisha had won twice. After, it was Yu Mo's turn to choose. He chose Yunfei Yang. He was the only one left who hadn't fought during that round. Unfortunately, I cannot kill you, said Yu Mo evilly to Yunfei Yang. Lin Feng wasn't the only one who had offended him. Jun Mo she had also made him appear as a buffoon. Now, he wanted to regain face by crushing Yunfei Yang. Unfortunately Yunfei Yang would probably immediately forfeit and would refuse to fight. How come you're still standing there? Yunfei Yang jumped forwards and looked back Yu Mo. He sounded indifferent. Yu Mo was astonished. Yunfei Yang was going to fight? Yunfei Yang had forfeited when Shuaisha had challenged him. He had also forfeited against Ku Yao Tong the dead tree. But in front of Yu Mo, he was going to fight. Why? Yu Mo looked glum, but then he realized what was happening. He wanted to humiliate Yunfei Yang, and the latter knew that. So by accepting the challenge, he was alternatively humiliating Yu Mo. You are not giving up, asked Yu Mo. Yunfei Yang ignored him and immediately jumped forwards. In a flash, a gigantic rumbling sound spread in the air. The force of the earth and sky became heavy. Yu Mo pulled a long face. Not only wasn't Yunfei Yang going to forfeit but he had immediately took the offensive. Die! This time, Yu Mo was infuriated. Terrifying trigrams appeared. Without hesitation his blood like 8 trigrams surrounded Yunfei Yang's body. Chapter 659, Blood Red Sword, you asked me to forfeit? I will really wonder how you plan to back that up. At least, you should be able to one-shot me if you're strong enough to ask me that, said Yunfei Yang with a cold smile. He jumped forwards and terrifying rumbling sounds spread in the air. He condensed the force of the earth and sky. Once again, he was borrowing the strength of the planet which enveloped the 8 red trigrams. Since you don't want to forfeit, I will teach you a lesson, said Yu Mo coldly. The 8 trigrams looked even more frightening. And then Yu Mo shouted furiously, annihilate. The 8 trigrams were moving chaotically through the air. A black and white color then rose up and moved towards Yunfei Yang. This time, Yu Mo was using his full strength. It seemed like he wanted to kill Yunfei Yang. He wanted to regain his popularity. The force of the earth and sky is mine. A strong force can annihilate anything, shouted Yunfei Yang furiously. Pure qi was emitting whistling sounds in the air as Yunfei Yang started running. Boom boom boom. The ground was shaking violently, some fissures even appeared. The force of the earth and sky was that powerful. Yunfei Yang's qi and force were dashing boundlessly and then turned into an airstream spinning rapidly. He was fusing together with the earth. 7th Xian Qi Layer. The crowd was astonished, extremely surprised. Yunfei Yang had broken through to the 7th Xian Qi Layer. He had been hiding his real strength. Apart from his terrifying force of the earth and sky, he had also broken through to the very top of the 7th Xian Qi Layer. That guy. He has incredibly frightening methods. And to top that, he managed to hide his strength from us, thought Lin Feng, smiling. Yunfei Yang and Lin Feng were very similar, they were both hiding their real cultivation levels. Yu Mo was astonished. He even looked glum. No wonder Yunfei Yang had accepted the challenge. He wasn't scared at all because he had hidden his real strength. 7th Xian Qi Layer or not, I will still kill you, scorned Yu Mo coldly. A terrifying spirit qi emerged and rolled into the atmosphere abruptly. His 8 trigram spirit looked terrifying. In Yu Mo's eyes, everything was black and white. And blood red. 8 trigrams, total annihilation. Yu Mo closed his eyes and a myriad of trigrams appeared. Then they moved towards Yunfei Yang at full speed. Yunfei Yang was surrounded by the 8 trigrams, his pure qi was being consumed. Boom 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 boom. The ground was shaking insanely. This time, Yunfei Yang continued running and the force of the earth and sky was oppressing Yumo's body. He then condensed all the force he could onto Yumo, creating an intense pressure. "You're still not dying," shouted Yumo, whose eyelids were shaking. His world was still black and white. He was maneuvering his trigrams back to block Yunfei Yang's way. Now he wanted to kill Yunfei Yang more than anything. Huh? Lin Feng frowned. This time Yumo was using his full strength, he wanted to kill Yunfei Yang. And for the latter, the situation seemed dangerous. Boom boom, but the sound of Yunfei Yang's steps were spreading in the air. Yunfei Yang arrived in front of Yumo and condensed a massive amount of force to oppress Yumo. It seemed like Yumo was going to be crushed under the pressure. Die! Die! They both shouted at the same time, their hearts were both filled with murder. Boom! A terrifying force violently crashed onto Yumo's body. Even though Yumo was stronger than Yunfei Yang, Yumo was projected backwards and his blood splashed. He had been injured. Yunfei Yang had condensed so much force that he could injure Yumo. The crowd couldn't believe it, they had never thought Yunfei Yang was that strong. "You will die," shouted Yumo like a madman. There were trigrams on Yunfei Yang's body and Yumo still had some around his own body. Yunfei Yang was already oppressed by the trigrams, so Yumo still had hope. "I give up," said Yunfei Yang, moving back. He had injured Yumo but was still forfeiting. It was enough for him. "You will die, no matter if you forfeit or not. Today you will die," said Yumo, looking sick. Blood was pouring out his mouth, making him look possessed. His terrifying trigrams swallowed Yunfei Yang's pure qi and enveloped him. Yunfei Yang had given up but Yumo still wanted to kill him. The crowd was shaking, Yumo was really furious. He had gone insane. He had lost his first battle against Junmo Shi and then was injured by Yunfei Yang during the second. That was just too much for him. Yumo had forgotten about the rules of the competition and went insane. Die! Yumo had gone mental, he had to kill Yunfei Yang. Yunfei Yang's face drastically changed. He thought he would be safe after forfeiting. But then a terrifying hurricane appeared on the fighting stage. A red, blood light had appeared. The crowd only saw a blood-red setting sun appear. Huh! The crowd was stunned. They couldn't tell what was going on or what that blood-red thing was. It seemed like a silhouette was appearing. Sirrr! A subtle sound spread in the air that wasn't loud at all. It seemed like wings had appeared on that setting sun. It was dazzling as it streaked across the sky. "Fuck off," shouted Yumo furiously. He then punched the atmosphere with terrifying strength. Several more sounds were heard and a weak, frail blood-red light could be seen. It seemed like the strength of his hand was gradually being cut. In a flash, Yumo's sleeve was in pieces and blood gushed out of his hand. Yumo suddenly sensed a terrifying pain in his arm. His entire arm was swallowed by that blood-red light. At the same time, his body was also projected backwards. Lacerate, another blood-red light spread in the air and it was just as terrifying. Yumo released a terrifying physical strength to cut the blood-red light into two. The moment when the light disappeared, the crowd could clearly see what was happening. On the fighting stage, a silhouette in white clothes had appeared. That person looked thin and desolate. In his hand was a blood-red sword that looked dazzling and bloodthirsty. Lin Feng, the crowd couldn't contain themselves. Lin Feng had surprisingly gotten involved. That blood sword of his was terrifying. Now Yumo's sleeve was minced and blood was gushing everywhere. Lin Feng had injured him with his sword before. How strong! Thought the crowd, many had even stood up. They were enthralled with Lin Feng, they wanted to see him use his full strength. Could it be that he could defeat Yumo, who had broken through to the very top of the 8th Xian Qi layer? Yuemo looked ice-cold and stared back at Lin Feng. He had been injured again. He had been injured by Yunfei Yang and now by Lin Feng. Someone who he had considered an insect. In the evil area he had almost killed Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng was strong enough to injure him with his sword. Shameless bastard. You attacked me by surprise, said Yuemo coldly, while insisting on the word surprise, because he wanted to keep face. I attacked you from the front, not the back, explained Lin Feng indifferently. He held his bloodthirsty sword firmly. He then added coldly, don't forget that you were the first one to break the rule. Then, Lin Feng turned around and moved to Yunfei Yang. A moment before, Yuemo didn't have the time to take care of Yunfei Yang when Lin Feng attacked him. The trigrams had disappeared already and Yunfei Yang looked normal again. Are you alright? Asked Lin Feng. I'm alright. He's worse than I am, joked Yunfei Yang. He didn't care about the result of the battle, what was important was his heart. The most important thing was to surpass oneself. Strength didn't matter that much, even if the results of a battle were predetermined. Once the body and mind were determined they couldn't be influenced by such reasonings. The most important thing to him was to become better, and that was enough. Yunfei Yang had just attacked Yuemo and had injured him. That's exactly what it was about, hurting other people. Since I am more hurt than you, do you want to continue the battle? Asked Yuemo darkly, staring at Yunfei Yang. No need. I forfeited, replied Yunfei Yang calmly. He didn't care. Continue, said Lin Feng. He raised his head and looked at Xue Wuchang, then asked, Mister, it's already the end of the second round. It's my turn now, so can I challenge him? Lin Feng was pointing at Yuemo. The crowd was silent. Lin Feng wanted to challenge Yuemo for the third round. Chapter 660, A Sword Destroying the Atmosphere. Lin Feng was challenging Yuemo. Xue Wuchang's eyes twinkled. He remained silent for a while but looked at Yuemo and said, he broke the rules first. Even if it's another round it's no good to fight twice in a row. But if Yuemo is willing to fight, then I have no objections. The crowd looked to Yuemo after they heard Xue Wuchang. Would he accept even though he is injured? Yuemo didn't know what to say looking at Lin Feng. Lin Feng had obtained the first jade key so Yuemo had no occasion to challenge him before. He had always thought that he would be the last person Lin Feng decided to challenge, but he had been looking forward to that fight. Since the beginning, he had wanted to kill Lin Feng. However, Yuemo hadn't anticipated that Lin Feng would challenge him during the third round of the final battles. Yuemo glared at Lin Feng coldly. He thought that Lin Feng's sword was very powerful, he could even use sword intent. There was still a difference of 3 cultivation layers between them, could Lin Feng really compete with him? Yuemo decided that it was impossible. Lin Feng was challenging him and he was going to die because of it. Of course I agree, why wouldn't I, said Yuemo, looking back at the blood on his arm. His pupils looked just as cold as before. Lin Feng was going to die. Lin Feng wanted to kill Yuemo even more when his eyes. In the evil area, Lin Feng was so much weaker than Yuemo but now. Lin Feng glanced at Yunfei Yang and smiled, go back, he's mine. When Yunfei Yang saw how confident Lin Feng was, he smiled and said, alright, if you can kill him don't show any mercy. Of course. Lin Feng said nodding. Yuemo wanted to kill Lin Feng, why would Lin Feng show mercy? Lin Feng shook his hand and a pill appeared. He looked at Yuemo and said, that pill will cure all your injuries. He threw the pill at Yuemo. Yuemo stretched his hand and caught the pill. He was speechless, Lin Feng was giving him a pill to recover. The crowd was just as bewildered, Lin Feng was that confident. Don't worry, that pill is a real one. With Mr. Xue Wuchang and all the strongest cultivators of Xueyu here, how could I think to poison you? Take it. If you die, people will avenge you. If you manage to kill me, I will die without regrets just as well. Alright, Very good, said Umo with an ice-cold smile. He swallowed the pill and a pleasant feeling invaded his body. As expected, his injuries caused by Yunfei Yang and Lin Feng immediately healed. Even his physical wounds disappeared, and his pure qi was stronger than before. Now, let's fight, said Lin Feng indifferently. The crowd looked impatient. They wanted to see that battle. Lin Feng was going to fight against one of the 8 most outstanding disciples of Xueyu. Was Lin Feng going to become one of the 8 most outstanding disciples of Xueyu? Besides, Lin Feng was going to fight against an extremely strong one. Umo, I've wanted to kill you for a long time, now you're begging for it yourself, giggled Umo. He jumped forwards and oppressed Lin Feng with his peak 8th Xian Qi layer power. You think that you are so strong because you can use some sword intent? There is a huge difference between your cultivation level and mine. You simply cannot compete with me, said Umo. He didn't immediately use his 8 trigrams like he had against Yunfei Yang. He was trying his terrifying force instead. Indeed, there is a huge difference. However, with the strength of the 5th Xian Qi layer I can kill people of the 7th Xian Qi layer easily. If I was at the 6th Xian Qi layer, wouldn't I be stronger? Asked Lin Feng coldly. He was smiling resplendently. After that, Lin Feng made a step forwards and released a terrifying sword energy. Lin Feng's pure qi was revolving around his body at full speed. 6th Xian Qi layer. All of a sudden Lin Feng's qi was of the 6th Xian Qi layer, not of the 5th. Surprisingly, he had hidden his strength and Umo hadn't seen it. Honestly, nobody had. Lin Feng had studied an impressive secret skill. So what if you broke through to the 6th Xian Qi layer? The difference between each cultivation layer at the Xian Qi layer is huge. The difference between a cultivator at the 6th Xian Qi layer and a cultivator of the 8th Xian Qi layer is too great. Besides, I am not at the 7th Xian Qi layer, I am at the very top of the 8th Xian Qi layer. I am not afraid of you, you can only die. After remaining silent for a moment, Umo said those words again. He was threatening Lin Feng. Is that so? Said Lin Feng with a cold smile. He jumped forwards again and released a terrifying pure qi which dashed to the skies. The crowd was shivering. How was that possible? The crowd was surprised with his next step. Lin Feng had released an energy and force equal to the 7th Xian Qi layer. How could Lin Feng have broken through to the 7th Xian Qi layer? Could it be due to the gifts he received in the special area? Even though the special areas were incredible places, the others hadn't broken through to higher cultivation layers like that. How could Lin Feng have broken through 2 cultivation layers in a row? Those who had gone with him to Shingong were even more speechless. They knew how incredible the special areas were, but it was impossible for Lin Feng to have broken through 2 cultivation layers in a row. Absolutely impossible. Especially in 7 days. Did Lin Feng hide his cultivation level before? That was impossible. People were all wondering how that was possible. Now, are you as confident as before? Asked Lin Feng. He was holding his bloodthirsty sword obliquely. Terrifying whistling sounds were spreading in the atmosphere. His sword intent surrounded Umo. Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword could cut through the entire atmosphere. Die! Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword started dancing, it was moving at an inconceivable speed. A blood-red light shot out towards Umo. Go! Shouted Umo furiously. He shook his hand and a terrifying strength moved towards Lin Feng's red light. Some muffled sound spread as Lin Feng's sword lacerated that physical strength. It was too sharp. Die! Shouted an ice-cold voice. Umo was stunned. He raised his head and noticed that Lin Feng was attacking him again. The red light of his sword looked particularly terrifying. 8 trigrams, shouted Umo unsteadily. Lin Feng's sword was way too fast, the reflections on it looked like shooting stars. Umo didn't have a single second to breathe. The 8 trigrams moved swiftly through the air and then the blood-red light of the sword was reflecting on them. Yuemo wanted to kill Lin Feng just like he had tried to kill Yun Fei Yang. During this crucial moment, Lin Feng decided to close his eyes. His body and mind were in perfect harmony. His body was in perfect harmony with his energies, with his sword, with the earth and the sky. Srrr. Srrr. A terrifying sword chi moved straight through the atmosphere with insane speed. Those in the crowd not already standing quickly did and started shaking. That sword was too fast. A blood-red light invaded the entire arena. It seemed like the whole crowd was bathing in a sea of blood. It even looked like it was raining blood. It was a shower of bloodthirsty swords lacerating everything, including the trigrams. 12 swords, said a voice coming from the sky. An infinite number of red lights were pouring. The 8 trigrams hadn't collided with Lin Feng, instead they were lacerated by Lin Feng's sword. What terrifying swordplay, thought the crowd. They were astonished. Yuemo looked absolutely enraged. His entire physical strength dashed to the skies. He was using all his strength he could muster at the top of the 8th Xian Qi layer. Without restraint his 8 trigrams soared to the skies and seemed heavy like they contained some sanguinary energies. Yumo's eyes had become bloodshot. Srrr. Only some slight tearing sounds spread in the air, no explosion or quakes. An incredible blood-red light seemed like it was wreaking havoc on the stage. Yuemo looked particularly cruel and evil, again like a madman. Even if you're insane, you will die. Lin Feng said. 13th Sword. Chapter 661, One sword blood-red lights transformed into a vortex as Lin Feng's sword fell from the sky. His bloodthirsty sword was destroying the entire space and it seemed like nothing else existed but that sword. Yuemo is in danger, the crowd thought, all of their attention was on the sword. They couldn't see Lin Feng's silhouette anymore, they could only see a bloodthirsty sword moving with an indomitable will. Nobody had expected such strength, nobody had believed that Lin Feng would be able to deploy such a sword attack. Ah! A blood-curdling shriek spread in the air. Yumo's blue veins were looking particularly swollen, almost like he was about to explode. He had never thought that he would be in such a difficult situation against Lin Feng. Stop, shouted a voice which made the entire stadium shake, everybody's hearts skipped a beat. Lin Feng was in symbiosis with his heart at that moment and that voice made his entire soul tremble. He let out a groan from the pain. He had to leave his trance-like mental state of mind and came back to reality. His sword force also went back to normal. Go, shouted Yuemo violently. He condensed all the physical strength he could to soar into the sky and bombard Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword. More subtle sounds spread in the air, the red light from the sword impenetrable. The crowd only saw Yuemo get projected backwards with his blood splashing out. Yuemo looked like a madman the way he was looking at Lin Feng. Lin Feng descended from the sky and landed. The tip of his sword rested on the fighting stage with Yumo's blood was dripping from it. Lin Feng looked like a proud hero. Lin Feng turned around and looked back at Yuemo who had landed far away in the distance. The shout from before was probably Yumo's teacher who had tried to distract Lin Feng. Lin Feng had just sensed his soul shake from that soul attack. If he hadn't shouted, Lin Feng would have killed Yuemo. Xue Wuchang looked at that person, you could tell how furious he was from eyes. Yuemo already lost, I am just forfeiting for him. I won't get involved again, I only wanted to save his life and nothing more, explained that person, rising up in the air and frowning. He sounded calm as he defended himself. That shout was an attack and you say you didn't get involved, said Lin Feng furiously, looking at Yumo's teacher. That teacher was a tiny little person, but he was monstrously strong. He had hurt Lin Feng's soul a moment before with only a shout, so that teacher must have already broken through to the Tian Qi layer. With one shout, he could injure cultivators of the Xian Qi layer. The Tian Qi layer is way beyond the Xian Qi layer. Yumo's teacher hadn't only broken through to the first Tian Qi layer, he was much stronger. Little boy, be quiet. There's no need to make big gestures here. UMO forfeited, that's all. Go back to your seat now. Let the next battle start. Thank you, said the teacher indifferently, glancing down at Lin Feng. He even sounded like he was threatening Lin Feng to a certain extent. Big gestures. Go back to his seat. Was Lin Feng the first one who wanted to kill in this match? Ridiculous. Lin Feng didn't pay any more attention to that teacher. He looked at Xue Wuchang and asked, Mister, did they violate the rules? Indeed, said Xue Wuchang nodding. I believe you then, said Lin Feng while bowing. Immediately after, he looked at UMO and released a terrifying sword energy which was seemingly even stronger than before. The sword energy was extremely sharp and was lacerating the atmosphere. The whistling sounds it was emitting were piercing painfully through people's eardrums. Huh? The crowd wasn't sure what he was doing. Was he going to continue the battle and kill UMO? Xue Wuchang made a step forward and arrived in front of Yumo's teacher. He then said coldly, all the participants of the great competition of Xueyu are geniuses. Shengong doesn't hope that they will die. If Yumo hadn't initially wanted to kill Lin Feng, I would stop Lin Feng now. But since Yumo has been trying to kill Lin Feng this whole time, the result is logical. I said it once, if you get involved once again, you will die here in Micheng. Die in Micheng, everyone's hearts were beating extra quick from the stress. Xue Wuchang was furious. He despised Yumo's teacher. Yumo and Lin Feng could solve their problems by themselves. Nobody could get involved. Even if Yumo's teacher was an extremely strong cultivator of the Tianqi layer, Shengong wouldn't allow him to interfere again. This time he would kill him. How incredible, they are so cruel. The crowd was extremely excited. Lin Feng was cruel, and Xue Wuchang was just as cruel. A cultivator of the Tianqi layer had just attacked Lin Feng, yet he wanted to continue his battle against Yumo. The more he fought, the more he wanted to kill Yumo. This time the Tianqi cultivator wouldn't get involved. Yumo was face to face with Lin Feng and Yumo's teacher was facing Xue Wuchang. What could the teacher do now? Yumo's teacher didn't care about Xue Wuchang, but Shengong was a different story. Xue Wuchang was the manager of the great competition of Xueyu. He represented Shengong and its authority. What he said was Shengong's word. If he got involved again, Micheng would become his final destination. An incredible cultivator of the Tianqi layer was now helpless. Lin Feng was still firmly holding his sword. He slowly walked towards Yumo and said coldly, you wanted to kill me back in the evil area, back then you didn't think such a day would come. Yumo looked ferocious and hideous. He had, of course, never thought such a thing would happen. Not even in his worst nightmares. Back in the evil area, he had humiliated Lin Feng and considered him as an insect. He wanted to kill him then, but now the table was turned. What a sad truth. The participants of the competition were narrowing their eyes. Lin Feng was really strong. He had even managed to defeat Yumo. The entire crowd looked excited. These battles were incredible, brutal, dazzling. They had never thought that Lin Feng would be so incredible at the competition. Of course, it wasn't such a pleasant surprise for some people. Like certain people from Tianfeng or those of the Wanshou sect, or even for Yuqing Shan. They hadn't left yet because they had all been waiting for Yumo to kill Lin Feng. But just like in their worst nightmares, they were devastated to see Lin Feng succeed. His sword qi was becoming stronger and stronger. Lin Feng, with his state of mind and willpower, was starting to leave tears in the air. His sword was moving straight towards Yumo. No. No. People's hearts were pounding violently. It was impossible. Lin Feng's sword intent was becoming stronger. How's that possible? Lin Feng hit his cultivation level and his real strength. A short time before, his sword intent was at the first level, but now it was at the third. His sword intent had increased by 2 levels. Umo was astonished, his heart hurt from the pressure. Why had he put himself in such a situation? Could it be that Lin Feng is still becoming stronger, thought the crowd. They kept shaking their heads, it was impossible. Lin Feng had already become so strong and there were limits. He couldn't be so much stronger in such a short time, it was impossible according to the laws of cultivation. His sword intent stopped at level 3, and left the atmosphere filled with sword chi. Blood was still dripping from his sword. Lin Feng walked slowly towards Umo and said, "Do you understand? A moment ago, I just used you to practice my sword intent, that's all." Practice his sword intent? Lin Feng's words were resonating in everyone's heads. Umo was scared. A moment before, Lin Feng had used him to increase his sword intent, just like a guinea pig. What a humiliation. Boom. It seemed like the atmosphere was going to collapse with all that sword energy. It was everywhere as Lin Feng started moving swift like the wind. "I only need one sword attack to kill you actually," said Lin Feng. Then his sword started moving even faster. A blood-red light descended from the sky as it was being cut in half. Immediately after, the crowd saw Umo terrified. Surprisingly, he had forgotten to block. Truthfully, he was unable to block such an attack. He could only watch as that light descended from the sky. Suddenly, a wound appeared on his body. That wound was deep. "One sword is enough," Lin Feng's words were still echoing. One sword really was enough to kill him. Umo was dead. Chapter 662, The Dead Tree. Umo was cut into two. Blood was gushing and splashing onto Lin Feng's sword. Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword was drinking Umo's blood again. In the air, Umo's teacher couldn't believe it. He just watched as the blood was absorbed by Lin Feng's sword. The teacher wanted revenge. Umo Lin Feng had brutally killed his student in front of him. With only one sword attack. Even after he threatened Lin Feng and his student was still killed, he had to persevere until the end. The sword was absorbing blood as it was shaking violently, the light diffused by the sword was becoming even more dazzling. It seemed like it was gaining vitality and vigor. Lin Feng looked emotionless, he turned around and put his sword away. As the blood stopped, the sword seemed satisfied. Then Lin Feng moved back to his original seat as if nothing had happened. Nobody's hearts slowed down. Lin Feng had the strength of the 7th Xian Qi layer and his sword intent was level 3. And then there was his terrifying bloodthirsty sword. His sword was murderous. Lin Feng not only managed to injure Umo, but he had even killed him. Everybody needed to reconsider Lin Feng's strength. The crowd had thought that Di Ling and Duan Wudao were the strongest at the great competition of Shuiyu. The third was probably Jun Mo Shi, followed by the other 5. But now, Lin Feng had proved them wrong. He had just killed one of the 8 most outstanding disciples, which meant that Lin Feng was one of them, so to say. It seems like everybody underestimated the one who obtained the first jade key, thought the crowd. Lin Feng had used one sword attack to kill Umo. Lin Feng, with his strength, was maybe one of the 5 strongest cultivators at the competition. The 4 best ones had to be Di Ling, Duan Wudao, Jun Mo Shi and Xue Sha, then Ling Xiao. Everyone was impatient to see Lin Feng fight against Ku Yaotong the Dead Tree. If Lin Feng managed to defeat Ling Xiao, he would end up in the top 5. He actually hid his strength well, thought the crowd. They had never thought that Lin Feng, who used to be of the 5th Xian Qi layer, would be one of the 5 best cultivators. Who wasn't surprised? They were all impatient to see the rest of the battles. Seeing these battles made them want to cultivate even more determinedly. "Are you going to take of the corpse or should I do it?" asked Xue Wuchang to Umo's teacher. The teacher looked cold. He glanced at Lin Feng and said, "I will take care of it." The teacher appeared in front of Umo's body, grabbed it, and left. As he left, a violent hurricane emerged that oppressed Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was too outgoing, he had killed Umo. It was a terrible offense to infuriate a Tian-Chi level cultivator. Lin Feng would have to be careful in the future. Shui Wucheng moved back to his original position when he saw the teacher leave. Then he said, since UMO is dead, those who haven't fought against a UMO yet will receive an additional victory and thus an additional point. The crowd was surprised. Since UMO was dead, those who hadn't fought against him were getting an extra victory. That wasn't fair at all because those who were initially able to defeat UMO were treated the same way as those who weren't. The most annoyed was Yun Fei Yang. UMO had fought only 3 battles and had lost against Jun Mo Shi and Lin Feng, but he had won against Yun Fei Yang. This meant that everybody else had won against UMO except for him. Tang Yuyu won, as before. Apart from Tang Yuyu, the ones who were at the top of the rankings also all won. Lin Feng then won again against the 12th cultivator with the silver sword. The cultivator with the silver sword had forfeited the moment Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword was about to collide with his own. After the young man with the silver sword, Lin Feng fought against Lu Yuqin Yu Xiao Xiao. Because UMO died, everybody had obtained a free win. Yu Xiao Xiao used a zither as a weapon. With that music she could make people's hearts burn by sensing all the vibrations of her melodies. Because Lin Feng's soul was monstrously powerful, Yu Xiao Xiao's music was unable to affect him. Even though Yu Xiao Xiao was extremely strong, she hadn't managed to make Lin Feng give up. In the end, Yu Xiao Xiao lost. Lin Feng had already won all of his 5 battles. With the free victory obtained because of Yumo's death, Di Ling, Duan Wu Dao, Jun Mo Shi, Shui Sha, and Ling Xiao had also won all of their battles. Of course, there was someone else who had surprised everybody. Tang Yuyu had also won all of her battles. The 6th battle was Lin Feng against Ku Yaotong the Dead Tree. If Lin Feng wins this fight he will become one of the 6 best cultivators, thought the crowd. Lin Feng and Ku Yaotong were facing each other on the fighting stage. Lin Feng had already defeated 2 of the 8 most outstanding disciples of the competition, UMO and Yu Xiao Xiao. He had killed UMO and crushed Yu Xiao Xiao. There would be no suspense if Lin Feng managed to win against the Dead Tree, he would be one of the 6 best in any case. The Dead Tree was sizing up Lin Feng. He didn't despise Lin Feng considering that he had already killed UMO in one sword attack. Who would insult someone that strong? The Dead Tree couldn't afford to be careless. If the Dead Tree might lose if he was careless. Behind him appeared an actual dead tree, it was his spirit. His nickname was the Dead Tree because his spirit was a dead tree. It was a very particular spirit and on top of it, he also had another technique called the eyes. All of his abilities were incredibly powerful. Take out your sword, said the Dead Tree challenging Lin Feng, but Lin Feng shook his head. He wasn't unsheathing his sword. I don't have to sword, you used to think that I only had the golden body skill in the past. But against you, my fire skills will be more appropriate, said Lin Feng slowly. Just then, a terrifying fire appeared around Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was bathing in a sea of flames, watching the atmosphere burning. Huh, the crowd was stupefied, Lin Feng could also use fire. It made sense to use fire against the Dead Tree instead of his sword. Alright, let's see how well it works against me, said the Dead Tree, his death energy was becoming increasingly violent. It seemed like everything was dying around him. Suddenly several branches grew out from Dead Tree's arms and hands and moved to surround Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng stepped forwards as he condensed some flames in his hands. He grabbed the branches and started burning them to ashes. What a strong fire, thought the crowd. Several more branches were moving towards Lin Feng that looked like sharp swords. Burn, said Lin Feng, more fire appeared as he shook his hands. The sun started shining upon those flames and the branches burnt again. There were no surprises at all. Die, shouted the Dead Tree furiously. Between him and Lin Feng, several dead trees with gigantic branches appeared. Everything around them seemed to be dying. It seemed like a new world filled with darkness. He used their branches to surround Lin Feng's body and stretched his hands, filled with death qi, to attack Lin Feng. Ku Yaotong's body now looked like a real dead tree. Chapter 663, The Seven Swords, Death Intent. Lin Feng was surprised. In the middle of all those dead trees he could sense some death intent. Intent wasn't a specific attribute of swords, other things could have intent like death energy. Provided that the cultivator could understand intent, they could use it. Burn, said Lin Feng coldly. Again a terrifying fire was emitted, and his entire body was surrounded by blazing flames. Those flames seemed like they could burn everything. Intent, the dead tree's pupils shrank. That terrifying fire contained intent as well. The entire area had turned into an ocean of flames that burned through everything. Those branches disappeared without a trace each time they came in contact with Lin Feng. Lin Feng had been right to use fire against the dead tree. Die, shouted a voice coming from within the flames. Lin Feng was his extremely hot cosmos-burning sun fire. The dead tree tried to dodge the flames because touching them would spell his doom. That fire was too hot. I skill. The dead tree's eyes suddenly looked empty, like that of a dead person. Everything seemed like it was fading. Lin Feng's fire seemed to weaken. Ku Yaotong looked particularly evil at that moment. It seemed like his branches were becoming alive. Huh? Lin Feng was surprised again. Impossible. His eye technique couldn't be so terrifying that it was giving life to the branches. It had to be an illusion or a hallucination. It has to be a trick, thought Lin Feng determined. Ku Yaotong could make Lin Feng believe things and make people believe he was a dead tree. But when someone realized that it was only an illusion, the death intent could make the branches alive. Lin Feng knew that it was a hallucination, but those eyes filled with death intent were powerful. It seemed like they could influence people's intent. Lin Feng's fire was becoming weaker and weaker. Eye technique, thought Lin Feng. His eyes suddenly started turned black, deep and mysterious. He looked like a demon with his pupils ice-cold and emotionless. Now nothing could affect his thoughts or intent, everything was clear and distinct. Everything appeared in his head just like a painting. Ku Yaotong shivered when he saw Lin Feng's eyes turn black, those eyes looked so cold. Even his death intent couldn't influence Lin Feng anymore. It seems like your real strength is constricted in front of me, said Lin Feng confidently. He made a step forwards as his fire regained its passion. That fire again seemed like it could burn the planet, the dead tree's world gradually vanished. In Lin Feng's hand appeared a sword condensed of sun qi. Rising sun. That sword rose like the rising sun, filled with the fire of the sun and fire intent. The sun was shining upon that sword dazzlingly. Sirrr. Sirrr. Ku Yaotong's qi was being lacerated by Lin Feng's sword. Ku Yaotong retreated backwards like a madman. He could only watch as the fire was moving to engulf him, some of the flames had even reached his body as he nearly started burning. That fire was filled with intent and was destroying a certain amount of his physical strength. Sun fire. Ku Yaotong was shaking because Lin Feng's fire was too terrifying. It was too hot, he couldn't put it out. He might end up paralyzed if he got burnt, or even his cultivation might end up crippled. Everything Lin Feng had said was turning out true. The dead tree qi and the eye technique were powerful, but it seemed like Lin Feng could restrain them. Lin Feng's fire and sword were sufficient to put immense pressure on Ku Yaotong, he had almost no chance to win now. I'm not fighting anymore. I give up, said Ku Yaotong. He turned around and moved back to his original seat. He gave up because he had no chance of winning. He preferred to save his strength for the next battles. He preferred fighting when he was sure to win, otherwise, he might end up injured. Then he would lose the other battles. That was Lin Feng's sixth victory. It seems like there is no suspense anymore, Lin Feng is the sixth strongest now. Lin Feng is the most surprising cultivator at the competition, thought everybody. Lin Feng's strength was overwhelming. He had now defeated 3 of the 8 most outstanding disciples at the competition. People barely recognized him with his natural abilities and his strength. Tang Yuyu then chose to fight against Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was a bit surprised because there were other people less strong than Ling Xiao left to challenge, but she had chosen him. He held 7 swords on his back. As he started walking to the stage, he asked Tang Yuyu, "Is Lin Feng your boyfriend?" Tang Yuyu was caught off guard. She hadn't thought that Ling Xiao would ask her that. The crowd was just as surprised. Lin Feng, Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yuyu, Qing Meng Xian and Yun Fei Yang all belonged to Dragon Mountain. They were all very good friends, especially Lin Feng and Tang Yuyu. Their relationship seemed a bit different. Could it be that Ling Xiao was right? Was Tang Yuyu really Lin Feng's woman? Why are you asking? Tang Yuyu was a bit defensive. Ling Xiao was a bit too curious. They were there about to fight, not to talk about her private life. Xiao Yu is my female fellow disciple and I love her. When I see you and Lin Feng, I see the same emotions, so I was curious, said Ling Xiao indifferently. He released some sword qi which surrounded his body, making him look like an extremely sharp sword. People's eyes were twinkling. Ling Xiao was getting angry. He seemed to be offended because Tang Yuyu was challenging him before Lin Feng had. Ling Xiao turned around and looked back to Yu Xiao Xiao as he said, "Yu Xiao Xiao, today our teacher is here in front of everybody. I will show that I, Ling Xiao, can protect my beloved one forever." So that's what he meant. Thought the crowd, they understood now. Ling Xiao wanted to show everybody that he loved Yu Xiao Xiao and that he was strong enough to protect her. Tang Yuyu was going to be a stepping stone for him. "I want to tell you, Yu Xiao Xiao, as well as our teacher, that I am determined and that I am worth it." Ling Xiao slowly turned around and faced Tang Yuyu. "It is an honor for you to fight against such a strong cultivator." Those 7 swords on his back were releasing terrifying rosy qi that dashed to the skies. A strong wind started blowing. He unsheathed all of his 7 swords at the same time. They were dazzling and the qi they emitted was extremely powerful. Those 7 swords contained different colors and all contained terrifying sword intent. They seemed like they could make deities cry. What a terrifying sword qi! They are emitting level 3 sword intent, the crowd was surprised. Level 3 sword intent was already quite high. Tang Yuyu didn't expect that. She was feeling oppressed by all the 7 swords and their sword intent. Ling Xiao was the strongest cultivator she had faced so far during the competition. She hadn't thought that he would be so strong. She and the crowd had underestimated him. Ling Xiao wanted to prove to Yu Xiao Xiao that Tang Yuyu was his victim. Chapter 664. Between swords. Ling Xiao seemed extremely arrogant, as if Tang Yuyu or Lin Feng were ants. In Ling Xiao Xiao's heart, there was only Yu Xiao Xiao. He wanted to use his sword to prove to Yu Xiao Xiao that he was worth it. What a terrifying sword level! We underestimated Lin Feng, but we also underestimated Ling Xiao, thought the crowd. That sword energy was terrifying. Tang Yuyu was in danger. Level 3 sword intent emitted from 7 swords. How could Tang Yuyu block that? Now people were wondering if Ling Xiao intended to kill Tang Yuyu or not. Ling Xiao was deploying so many means, 7 swords. The situation was perilous for Tang Yuyu. Level 3 sword intent, Lin Feng frowned. He looked at Ling Xiao. He had also never thought that Ling Xiao would show such strength against Tang Yuyu. Ling Xiao thought that Tang Yuyu was Lin Feng's woman, so he wanted to avenge Yu Xiao Xiao because Lin Feng had defeated her. That reason was good enough, but Lin Feng understood that Ling Xiao was mainly trying to show to Yu Xiao Xiao that he loved her. This fight was a stepping stone. Ling Xiao had already shown everyone that he was strong. He was dazzling all the way. Tang Yuyu frowned, that sword chi was way too oppressive. She started to look deathly pale. Tang Yuyu immediately released her spirit and some extremely powerful chi. She just felt an impending doom was upon her. She thought that she could die. 7 swords, go, shouted Ling Xiao furiously. The 7 swords dashed to the skies, all dazzling with different colors. Ling Xiao's swords seemed like they could annihilate everything. The 7 swords jetted towards Tang Yuyu's all at the same time. They wanted to cut straight through her. Those swords seemed like they contained Ling Xiao's entire strength and oppressive force. Tang Yuyu had no time to think when she saw all those dazzling swords. 1,000 shadows, she shouted furiously. A myriad of Tang Yuyu clones suddenly appeared. CRRR 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 CRRR. All the clones attacked the swords but were killed. Tang Yuyu retreated back at full speed, she even fell off the fighting stage. Ling Xiao's one attack was monstrous. Tang Yuyu couldn't resist to him. Sword lights were everywhere as Tang Yuyu could only try to avoid them. Give up, shouted Lin Feng extremely loudly. Then Tang Yuyu said, I give up. Tang Yuyu's soul was damaged as all of her clones were killed, she was left bleeding. It seemed like the swords weren't stopping. The clones had delayed the attack but they kept moving towards her as if Ling Xiao wanted to kill her. Tang Yuyu raised her head to try and block the swords. But then she saw red lights appear in front of her. Sword chi was dashing to the skies and emitting sharp whistling sounds. Ling Xiao groaned as he called back his 7 swords. He was facing Lin Feng. She already gave up so I got involved. I didn't violate the rules, did I? Asked Lin Feng to Xue Wuchang. Xue Wuchang nodded, Lin Feng had not violated the rules. Tang Yuyu had forfeited and Ling Xiao had continued attacking. He was the one who had violated the rules. Lin Feng nodded and turned back to Ling Xiao, Qi Qing Jian Ling Xiao, you want to kill or hurt people to prove how strong you are. You tell us that you love your woman and that you can protect her. We don't care about your private life. However, I hope that you can remain friendly, it would be unfortunate if we became enemies. Don't forget that choices are important. Lin Feng then turned around and started walking away from Ling Xiao. The crowd was surprised. Ling Xiao's swords were extremely strong, but Lin Feng's sword was able to stop them. A confrontation between those 2 sword geniuses seemed inevitable. Lin Feng was right, choices were important, especially seeing how he had the first jade key. Ling Xiao had tried to harm Tang Yuyu using Lin Feng as an excuse. Lin Feng walked towards Tang Yuyu who was bleeding her mouth, and asked, are you severely injured? No need for sanguine soul grass. I will recover in a few minutes, said Tang Yuyu, trying to assure Lin Feng. She didn't want him to use the other half of his grass. She knew that the grass was very important to him, he was going to use it to save someone's life. It's not that easy. Find a place to recover, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. It was the best method to recover seeing how other pills were useless. Only extremely precious things would work better. Tang Yuyu sat down and closed her eyes. The battles continued on the fighting stage. Di Ling and Duan Wudao were still extremely strong, nobody could win against them. Then Jun Mo Shi moved to the fighting stage and looked at Ling Xiao. The crowd was surprised that Jun Mo Shi wanted to avenge her. However, Ling Xiao had just fought. According to the rules, Jun Mo Shi couldn't fight against him. How would a battle between Jun Mo Shi and Ling Xiao end though? Jun Mo Shi, leave him to me, said Lin Feng. Jun Mo Shi turned his head and smiled. He nodded and said, all right, he's for you. Even though I don't like to fight against women, we will all have to fight against them sooner or later, said Jun Mo Shi to Yu Xiao Xiao. Ling Xiao and Yu Xiao Xiao were surprised. It seemed like it wasn't such a good idea to bully Tang Yuyu. Now, Jun Mo Shi was going to avenge her. That battle held no suspense at all. Jun Mo Shi could easily defeat Yu Mo so he could easily defeat Yu Xiao Xiao. Yu Xiao had already lost, so now she had lost 3 battles total. She was the weakest of the 8 most outstanding geniuses. Ling Xiao could only avenge her. Ling Xiao was sad, he had bullied Tang Yu and now Jun Mo she fought Yu Xiao. However, he didn't hurt her because he didn't like to bully women. The battles continued and none were surprising. The lower-ranked cultivators continued losing and weren't very exciting to watch. Then, it was Lin Feng's turn again. Lin Feng moved to the center of the fighting stage. Everybody was getting excited from the anticipation. They were all looking at one person, Ling Xiao. It was probably going to be a battle between 2 sword cultivators this time. A bloodthirsty sword and 7 swords. Lin Feng's sword intent was level 3 just like Ling Xiao's. How would a battle between them two end up? The crowd found that watching Lin Feng fight was exciting. Their hearts were filled with even more ardor, tenacity and vigor as if their blood had been boiling. Perhaps it was only because they hadn't anticipated such situations happening. They had seen Lin Feng from the beginning to the end becoming stronger and stronger. If he managed to win against Ling Xiao, it would mean that he was the 5th strongest cultivator. Lin Feng could almost be certain. Chapter 665, Bad Choice. Just as the crowd had expected, Lin Feng looked at Ling Xiao. Since Ling Xiao had bullied Tang Yu, revenge was unavoidable. Ling Xiao wanted to prove to everybody, especially to the girl he loved, that he was strong and dependable. He fought Tang Yu, who he thought was Lin Feng's girlfriend, to avenge Yu Xiao. Could Lin Feng forgive him? Do I need to call on you? Asked Lin Feng. Ling Xiao immediately jumped to the middle of the fighting stage. Even if you hadn't challenged me, I would have challenged you, said Ling Xiao coldly. He unsheathed his 7 multicolor swords once again. They were all filled with a monstrous sword intent. Let's see if your sanguinary blood is stronger than my 7 swords, said Ling Xiao. He had 7 swords that were all different. His sword intent was level 3. They contained the force of 10,000 swords. Sword battles were extremely dangerous and were often fatal. Sword intent was whistling in the air and strong air currents emerged. It seemed that there were only swords in the world. Even though Ling Xiao hadn't reached a level where he could destroy the world, he could kill people from extremely far distances. It was easy for him. Ling Xiao didn't need to use his hands to control his swords, he could use them from far away. Lin Feng was calmly watching those swords. A light sound spread in the air and a blood-red light appeared. His bloodthirsty sword buzzed in the air, shaking violently with excitement. His bloodthirsty sword had its own life and it was pointed at the 7 swords. A terrifying sword energy spread in the air, his bloodthirsty sword then dashed to the skies. That bloodthirsty sword was excited, it wanted to fight. What terrifying swords, thought the crowd. The 7 swords and the bloodthirsty sword all seemed alive, they had their own lives. Sword energies were dashing to the skies. Ling Xiao looked fierce and conceited. His 7 sword, the bloodthirsty sword, and their intent were all extremely precious. Your sword is not bad and your sword intent is also level 3. I respect you, you are a good sword cultivator. Let's fight and finish the battle in one sword attack, said Ling Xiao. From Ling Xiao's back appeared a sword-light spirit. His sword energies became stronger. He was a pure sword cultivator and had a sword spirit. However, Lin Feng didn't release his spirit. He was singularly relying on his bloodthirsty sword whose red light was dashing to the skies. A terrifying killer energy invaded the atmosphere, he hadn't used killer energy for such a long time. The crowd was watching the battle, the anticipation was terrifying. They're going to start the battle now, thought the crowd. Whose sword was stronger? Right, I am a real man so I am going to win. I will show everybody that I am the best sword cultivator of Shuiyu. I will show Xiao Yu that my sword will never be defeated, said Ling Xiao arrogantly. He seemed to think that he had already won the battle. Indeed, you are brave, but you chose the wrong person to prove everybody that you are the stronger, said Lin Feng as confidently as Ling Xiao had been. Is that so? You have only one sword and I have 7, said Ling Xiao while jumping forwards. In a flash, his sword energies shot out at Lin Feng, destroying the atmosphere on their way. Sirrr. 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 Some subtle sounds spread in the air. Nothing could stop those swords. However, when the sword lights started illuminating the atmosphere, the crowd also saw Lin Feng move. He was holding his sword with both hands and was spinning in the air. His bloodthirsty sword was filled with killer force. Lin Feng was also releasing massive amounts of energies. He's crazy, thought the crowd. Lin Feng wasn't like Ling Xiao, he wasn't trying to fight from far away. Instead, he was trying to fight in close combat as he threw his body at his opponent. Did he want to die? Blood-red lights illuminated the atmosphere and followed Lin Feng's body. Right at the moment when everybody thought that Lin Feng was insane, a magnificent light illuminated the atmosphere. Lin Feng's bloodthirsty sword was attacking. Boom! A blood-red light illuminated the atmosphere. It seemed like the atmosphere was filled with blood. The blood-red light seemed more and more dazzling as it grew stronger. The loud whistling sounds in the air grew louder. Sirrr. Sirrr. That light dazzled people's eyes. The blood-red lights annihilated the other lights and moved straight towards Ling Xiao. That sword wasn't filled with level 3 intent anymore. It had increased to level 4 intent. Buzzing sounds were resonating in people's heads. Many people were clenching their fists and sweating. Lin Feng's sword intent was level 4. Incredible. Lin Feng had hidden his strength against the dead tree and against UMO. He was stronger than they previously believed. The difference between level 3 and level 4 intent was huge. Understanding intent was extremely difficult, each level was entirely different from the other. It was extremely hard to increase one's intent level, even more so than breaking through to a superior cultivation layer. Lin Feng's sword could annihilate anything. That sword looked like the one he had used to kill UMO. However, a devastating sword was useless if it wasn't fast enough. With speed, it was almost impossible to stop it. Ah! A horrible shriek spread in the air. The blood-red light finally disappeared, Lin Feng and Ling Xiao's energies collided. Terrifying sounds echoed in the air, louder than a horrible shriek. However, the crowd had already forgotten about the energies, they only wanted to see who had shouted. Qi Qing Jian Ling Xiao hadn't died. However, his arm fell down on the ground. A moment before, the bloodthirsty sword hadn't killed him, he had moved aside and sacrificed his arm. The crowd was astonished. They had stopped breathing, the atmosphere was incredibly oppressive. When everything calmed down again and the energies disappeared, Lin Feng was still holding his bloodthirsty sword, calmly standing there. Ling Xiao was covering the wound where his arm had been cut off but blood kept gushing. Ling Xiao looked like he was agonizing. He didn't look arrogant and proud anymore at all. It seemed like the two of them had descended from the sky. What a pity. Such a genius like Ling Xiao had lost an arm. He would lose his reputation. Yu Xiao was astonished, even Ling Xiao's teacher was stunned. A moment before, he had been talking so arrogantly and proudly, but now Lin Feng had cut off his arm. That was already the second person who had suffered from Lin Feng's hands. The first one was UMO who had died and now Ling Xiao. They had both been one of the 8 most outstanding young people of Xueyu. Lin Feng had won his 7th fight. It seemed like he was going to finish 5th in the end. Lin Feng saw that Ling Xiao didn't look proud or arrogant anymore. He said, "You were right to declare your love, but you were wrong about using Tang Yuyu to prove it to everybody." Ling Xiao had chosen Tang Yuyu to show Yu Xiao that he loved her. He made a terrible mistake. Chapter 666, the day before the Great War there was still lots of blood on the fighting stage. Ling Xiao was staring at Lin Feng but Lin Feng wasn't facing him. Ling Xiao could only watch his back. His eyes were bloodshot and cruel. He couldn't calm down, but he didn't look determined, proud or self-confident anymore though. He had really made a bad decision. Why had Lin Feng hidden his strength? His intent was level 4. And his bloodthirsty sword was terrifying, it had cut off his arm. But this time, the bloodthirsty sword resisted drinking his blood. "Cure it well," shouted Ling Xiao's teacher. Ling Xiao then moved back to his seat and sat down like Tang Yuyu. He took out a pill and swallowed it. His arm had already been cut off so he would never get it back, so now he needed to heal the wound. If the wound healed he would be able to keep fighting. Swords are powerful because they can move with the power of your brain. You can kill people from far away so an arm is not that useful. It can't stop you from moving forwards. Ling Xiao, your arm was cut off but you can still become a monstrously strong cultivator that reaches the clouds. You cannot give up, said the old man. Ling Xiao opened his eyes and sharp lights twinkled in his pupils again. It seemed like he had regained his motivation to become a strong sword cultivator. Even if he had lost an arm, he could still become an extremely strong cultivator and reach the clouds. His heart started beating faster again, he was filled with ardor. He wanted to become a hero. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the old man. No wonder his words sounded like prayers that could motivate people, he was a cultivator of the Tian Qi layer. They were filled with ardor and made people's souls shake. "Alright, it's Tang Yuyu's turn," said Xue Wuchang while looking at Tang Yuyu who was still sitting on the ground. Even though he knew that Tang Yuyu was still recovering, the competition had to continue. Tang Yuyu still needed to heal but she had to challenge someone. Tang Yuyu opened her eyes, she wanted to stand up but Lin Feng touched her shoulders and shook his head. She still needed to heal. "You can choose Di Ling or Duan Wu Dao and forfeit immediately." "You cannot fight," said Lin Feng gently. When Tang Yuyu heard him, she smiled. Then she said, "I choose Lin Feng, and I forfeit." Lin Feng was speechless, he just saw Tang Yuyu smiling childishly, she was so smart. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. In any case, he would have never fought against Tang Yuyu. She had chosen him so why not? That was Lin Feng's 8th victory, he had 8 points already but there were a few more battles left. With his strength, Lin Feng can definitely finish in the top 5. Even if we don't know who the stronger one is between Lin Feng and Xue Sha. Duan Wu Dao and Di Ling will definitely defeat Lin Feng, thought the crowd. Lin Feng couldn't finish in the top 4. They still had to see Lin Feng's battle against Xue Sha though. Would Lin Feng choose Duan Wu Dao or Di Ling for his next battle? There was also Jun Mo Shi, Lin Feng was his good friend so how would their battle end? Di Ling, Duan Wu Dao, Jun Mo Shi and Xue Sha were winning but weren't fighting each other. Nobody could defeat them though. Initially, Ling Xiao with his 7 swords and level 3 intent was as strong as Xue Sha. He could have even put some pressure on Duan Wu Dao or Di Ling, but now Ling Xiao's arm was crushed so he couldn't do much. Amongst the other 8 outstanding geniuses the Dead Tree, Yu Xiao Xiao and Ling Xiao couldn't defeat the 4 best ones. Umo would have never been able to defeat them either. Therefore, the crowd was guessing that Lin Feng couldn't finish in the top 4. Di Ling, Duan Wu Dao, Jun Mo Shi and Xue Sha were, in their eyes, the 4 champions of the competition. Then came Lin Feng in 5th position. But they were only guessing. Those 5 hadn't fought against each other yet. They hadn't deployed their full strength so nobody knew how strong they really were. In the top 5, Lin Feng was the one who had revealed his strength the most. But they were convinced that those battles would come soon. The battles continued and they were sanguinary. Apart from those 5 people, there was the Dead Tree. It seemed very difficult to stop him, even Yun Fei Yang or Qing Meng Xian couldn't defeat him. Even though Yunfei Yang had lost against Umo, he was very strong. With his terrifying sword force, he could even defeat Yu Xiaoxiao. Everybody was astonished. The competition would show Xueyu who its real geniuses were. The fights continued and Lin Feng was going to fight his 10th battle. The crowd sighed because Lin Feng had defeated Ling Xiao and hadn't battled since then. Qing Meng Xian and Yunfei Yang also forfeited against Lin Feng. It seemed like they were trying to help him. After the 10th battle, Lin Feng still had 4 battles to fight. Di Ling, Duan Wu Dao, Jun Mo Shi and Xue Sha, the 4 strongest cultivators. Tang Yuyu still needed time to heal, she gave up against Di Ling. Then she forfeited against Di Ling, so it was Di Ling's 10th victory, just like Lin Feng. Just like Lin Feng, he only had the 3 best cultivators left and Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had to fight against 4 extremely strong cultivators, not 3 like Di Ling, for battles. After that round, the best battles will start, thought the crowd. Duan Wu Dao still had to fight. Because Jun Mo Shi won when Yunfei Yang forfeited against him, another battle arrived and it was Xue Sha's turn. The crowd looked at Xue Sha, he wasn't going to fight against Ling Xiao it seemed, instead, he was looking at Jun Mo Shi. He could wait to fight against Ling Xiao because that battle wouldn't be difficult. With the next battles being terrifying, it was better to choose someone else. Therefore, Xue Sha chose Jun Mo Shi. Jun Mo Shi and Xue Sha were facing each other and the crowd was shaking with excitement. 2 of the 5 best cultivators were going to fight. Who would win? Chapter 667, Evil Fight. Xue Sha was a genius of the Tian Sha sect. His teacher, Mr. Yin Sha, attached a particular importance to his disciple. He was the youngest cultivator at the competition of Xueyu. Jun Mo Shi was the prince of Dragon Mountain and had a qi of righteousness. He could bring justice into the world. Those 2 were opposites, one was benevolent and the other was malevolent. They were both some of the 5 best cultivators of the competition. Their battle would certainly be incredible. People were all firmly staring at the fighting stage. They didn't want to miss a single bit of that fight. This time, evil was going to fight against good. Who would win? Vital energy of righteousness, said Xue Sha with an evil smile. He was making fun of Jun Mo Shi's energy of righteousness. In the continent of the 9 clouds, strong cultivators are respected, no matter if they are evil or good. The most important thing is strength. If you are strong, you can bully others and vice versa. It is not because you are benevolent that you amaze people, it is because you are strong, nothing more. I know, but at least being good enables you to have friends, said Jun Mo Shi indifferently, smiling. Xue Sha was a bit surprised. Indeed, Jun Mo Shi was right. Being strong was important and earned you respect, but evil people were feared. Of course, Xue Sha had chosen that path, so he wasn't going to change. He just wanted to be strong. Fighting isn't about making friends, said Xue Sha, his face turned paler and paler. It seemed like there was absolutely no blood in his face. He slowly raised his hands and a terrifying evil qi rose. The crowd felt paralyzed even though they were far away. That evil qi made them feel like they were suffocating, it was so uncomfortable. Jun Mo Shi groaned coldly as he released some vital energy of righteousness. Xue Sha's qi collided with the energy of righteousness and immediately disappeared. The vital energy of righteousness could annihilate evil energies and make them melt. Energy of righteousness? Get ready to endure the real evil energies, said Xue Sha, smiling evilly. In a flash, his body disappeared from his original position and he jolted forward with his fist. A terrifying evil energy was condensed in his fist and was aimed at Jun Mo Shi. Evil energy will just melt in my energy of righteousness, said Jun Mo Shi running forwards, he didn't seem to care about the evil qi. Vital energy of righteousness was moving in the air at full speed. It was oppressing the evil energy. But then the evil energy dispersed and moved in all 4 directions. That evil chi seemed to contain some corpse chi, it smelt like a cadaver in putrefaction. Wow! The corpse chi moved in all directions, the audience felt nauseous and sick. They wanted to vomit. Some people even turned black as if their lives were being swallowed, maybe they were going to turn into corpses. Oh no! That wind is terrifying. The crowd was bursting out in an uproar, many of them were moving back chaotically. Very quickly, the area emptied. Several people who were weak had collapsed. Their bodies were black, their muscles were twitching, and then they stopped moving. They had become corpses. How astonishing! How terrifying, how morbid, thought the crowd, their hearts were pounding violently. Being touched by the corpse chi could make people turn into authentic cadavers. Only strong people like Jun Mo she could resist such energies and fight against Xue Sha. Some of the crowd was terrified. They were so strong, those two fighters were titans. A majority of the people in the crowd couldn't fight these two. Rumbling sounds were spreading in the atmosphere, corpse chi and energy of righteousness collided. Some strong winds were blowing. There was a gray wind and a golden wind and none of them were disappearing. Xue Sha is so much stronger than Umo, thought the bewildered crowd. Umo hadn't been able to resist Jun Mo she at all, he had just been crushed. However, Xue Sha was able to resist against Jun Mo she's energy of righteousness. Even though he managed to resist against the energy of righteousness, it still seemed like the corpse chi was disappearing slowly. Sea of blood and corpses, said Xue Sha when he saw that he was starting to lose the struggle. He couldn't help but be furious. His corpse chi suddenly became even more terrifying. At the same time, his hands became particularly scary, they looked like they were swollen with blood. With each attack, his hands seemed like they were sucking up Jun Mo she's blood. They were absorbing Jun Mo she's pure chi and they wanted to swallow his blood and flesh too. Mo Tsang Lan had a similar attack, thought Lin Feng when he saw that. Back then, Mo Tsang Lan had learned a terrifying evil skill which could absorb people's blood and flesh. It seems that Xue Sha possessed it too. But Xue Sha's attack was way more powerful than Mo Tsang Lan's. Jun Mo she was just too strong and Xue Sha couldn't destroy that energy of righteousness. No matter how strong the evil attacks were, it was difficult to destroy energy of righteousness. Woo! The sound of a mourning ghost spread in the air and a terrifying corpse energy moved towards Jun Mo she. Xue Sha's hands turned even redder, he was moving towards Jun Mo she and wanted to catch him. Vital energy of righteousness can annihilate evilness, said Jun Mo she while walking forwards. His energy of righteousness was rolling in the atmosphere like waves. Those golden waves were rolling towards Xue Sha, making all the evil energies melt away. Boom boom boom. A terrifying sound spread in the air. It seemed like the vital energy of righteousness was infinite. Evil energies were melting and being swallowed. At that moment, the energy of righteousness was dashing to the skies. Jun Mo she looked like an angel, pure and holy. Energy of righteousness was surrounding his entire body. He looked like a hero bringing justice and destroying evil. How strong, thought the crowd. He had only used vital energy of righteousness, from the beginning to the end. What an incredible accomplishment during such a battle. Jun Mo she had only learned how to use vital energy of righteousness, seemingly nothing else. Knowing only one skill and being so strong with it was incredible. Boom! The evil chi kept moving back and disappearing. Xue Sha's face turned even paler, he was shaking. Blood was flowing out of his mouth. Jun Mo she. You resisted until now so you can be proud of yourself, said Xue Sha evilly. His face was deathly pale like a ghost. He released even more evil chi and from his back appeared a terrifying silhouette. It was a corpse. It was a monumental corpse. That evil corpse seemed like it could make the planet turn into a hell. Around Xue Sha appeared several skeletons, the scene was astonishing. Shueisha looked like a real monster. Evil Qi, corpse invasion, shouted Shueisha furiously. The corpses started moving and roaring. The sounds were so scary that many people were putting their hands on their ears. Around Shueisha appeared a sea of blood. There wasn't an infinite corpse Qi though, but it seemed like Jun Mo Shi's vital energy of righteousness was moving back. Die, shouted Shueisha furiously. Just like a corpse, he threw himself at Jun Mo Shi. An incredible quantity of corpse energy collided with the vital energy of righteousness. The crowd watched Shueisha's face as an extremely evil and hideous smile sprouted. Annihilation, SN evil voice spread in the air. Shueisha seemed like he was turning into a ghost, without a real body. He jumped into the vital energy of righteousness. His skeleton hand immediately crashed into Jun Mo Shi's chest and penetrated into it. It's over, thought the crowd. Was Jun Mo Shi going to die? Was Shueisha going to kill him? His spirit had made him turn into a skeleton. A moment before, they had thought that his spirit only enabled him to use corpse Qi. Do you have anything to add? Said Shueisha with his evil grin. But Jun Mo Shi didn't look like he was in pain, he looked calm and serene. Shueisha didn't feel reassured. Jun Mo Shi was going to die but wasn't afraid. What I want to say is, you are not the only person who has a spirit, said Jun Mo Shi slowly. Immediately after, an incredible quantity of vital energy of righteousness surrounded the evil energy. Shueisha cringed away. It seemed like his body was going to melt. He lowered his head and looked at Jun Mo Shi's chest. There was no blood where he had stabbed his hand. Chapter 668, Evil Nightlight. What astonished Shueisha the most was the speed at which Jun Mo Shi's injury was recovering. A moment before, he had badly injured Jun Mo Shi with his hand, but it was now healing itself. Shueisha raised his head again and saw Jun Mo Shi smile. His heart started pounding violently. He could only move back, he had no other choice. But now Jun Mo Shi wasn't going to give him the chance to escape. His vital energy of righteousness was falling down like a waterfall. It crashed onto Shueisha's body and he drowned in it. Shueisha's body gradually became real again. The terrifying vital energy of righteousness kept penetrating into his body and blood started gushing out of his mouth. Get away, shouted Shueisha furiously. He used his entire body attack Jun Mo Shi and then bounced backwards. He had landed 1 kilometer away. His qi continued flowing but he was astonished again, a wave of vital energy of righteousness was closing in. Jun Mo Shi was getting near him again. Shueisha's heart was pounding, he looked to Jun Mo Shi and shouted, I lost. Jun Mo Shi immediately stopped in front of Shueisha and his vital energy of righteousness faded away. Shueisha had given up. Shueisha had lost that battle. Jun Mo Shi had oppressed the corpse qi. But what was his spirit? Shueisha looked at Jun Mo Shi's chest and found that the wound had completely healed already. The crowd was also staring at the injury. Such a lethal injury had disappeared. A moment before, they had seen the energy of righteousness had stopped the evil energy from penetrating into the wound. Then Jun Mo Shi immediately recovered. What was that? Was that Jun Mo Shi's spirit? What is your spirit? Asked Shueisha aggressively to Jun Mo Shi. He had lost but he wanted to know Jun Mo Shi's secret. You cannot blame yourself for the defeat. His spirit is extremely rare, it is impossible to kill him actually. He has an immortal spirit, any monumental attack cannot kill him because he can heal the wounds. There is only one way to kill him and that's use enormous physical strength and then kill him in one strike. That will make his soul fly out of his body, then his immortal spirit cannot save him. However, if you haven't broken through to the Tian Qi layer, it is impossible to kill him, said In Sha in the sky. Everybody was astonished. Jun Mo Shi had an extremely rare immortal spirit. What a terrifying spirit! Immortal spirit, whispered Shueisha. He looked extremely evil. He looked at Jun Mo Shi and said, I lost and it's absolutely normal. Your spirit is extremely strong, otherwise you would already be unable to talk to me right now, said Jun Mo Shi indifferently. He then turned around and walked away. Jun Mo Shi had won. Jun Mo Shi had oppressed Xue Sha from all sides. It was terrifying. Jun Mo Shi was definitely one of the best cultivators of the competition. Lin Feng might also be able to defeat Xue Sha. It meant that 3 of the 4 best geniuses of the competition would belong to Dragon Mountain. The most terrifying fact was that 2 of them would be Duan Wudao and Lin Feng, who were from Xueyu, a small country under the jurisdiction of Dragon Mountain. Was it the rise of Xueyu? Surprisingly, it had 2 amazing and dazzling geniuses at the competition. What glory! The battles continued. Those who were at the end of the rankings didn't interest the crowd. A new round was about to start and it was Lin Feng's turn to challenge someone. The crowd was excited again. He was going to fight against an extremely strong cultivator now. Lin Feng already had 10 points. He had to fight against the 4 most amazing cultivators now and had no other choice. This time, it would be another clash of titans. Lin Feng could choose Di Ling, Duan Wudao, Jun Mo Shi or Xue Sha. Who would he choose this time? Lin Feng slowly turned his head and looked at Xue Sha. You wanted to kill me, so now you will have your opportunity, said Lin Feng to Xue Sha. Lin Feng was surprisingly choosing him. What a bastard. He was making him appear as the weakest of the 4 best cultivators. Lin Feng had started from the very bottom and was considered the weakest cultivator at the beginning, but now he had climbed up the rankings. Lin Feng's opponents were becoming stronger and stronger. This meant that Lin Feng didn't consider Xue Sha as strong as Di Ling and the 2 others. Even though Xue Sha had lost against Jun Mo Shi, he still considered himself extremely strong. Alright. I will kill you and regain prestige, said Xue Sha. He felt better again. Outside, it was gradually getting dark and night was falling. There was only the full moon in the sky illuminating the area and the fighting stage. During the last battles of the competition there was no difference between day and night. It was only about battling, about who was strong or weak, who was a winner or a loser. Those were incredible battles. Afterwards people would remember their names. Would they make fun of them or would they remember them as dazzling heroes? Those battles were going to determine their future and make them appear as dazzling cultivators. I don't like the daytime, I feel my best in the dark, said Xue Sha looking evil. His eyes were twinkling with evil lights. However, Lin Feng just sat there looking perturbed. You always thought that you were the strongest, but now you already lost a battle. How can you still be so confident? I really admire you for still being able to joke, said Lin Feng jokingly. Xue Sha became angry, his eyes were bloodshot and fixed on Lin Feng. Wait and you will see, I will suck up all your pure qi. I will swallow your blood and flesh. It will be a cruel night for you, said Xue Sha while slowly walking forwards. A terrifying corpse energy invaded the atmosphere of the night. The night seemed even deeper and more mysterious. One couldn't see too far in front of them. Evil skills were particularly efficient at night and Xue Sha was no exception. I also like the night, said Lin Feng staring at sky and gazing into the distance. It really was a pitch-dark night. Lin Feng turned around and faced Xue Sha. There was a piercingly ice-cold energy, it seemed like an evil light. Lin Feng's pupils looked like that of a devil, surprising Xue Sha. Jun Mo Shi used vital energy of righteousness to defeat you. I will use an evil power and we will see which of us is the most evil, said Lin Feng. Everybody stopped breathing. Lin Feng had evil powers. Could it be that, apart from his bloodthirsty sword and his golden body and his fire, he had other powers still? What was Lin Feng going to use? How many skills did Lin Feng know really? The crowd was looking at Lin Feng the unfathomable. They would never understand him. At the beginning, Lin Feng was an insignificant cultivator of the 5th Xian-Qi layer, and now he was one of the best cultivators at the competition. He just had to defeat Xue Sha and he would end up 4th in the end. There was really only one Lin Feng. There were black lights emerging out of Lin Feng's body surrounding him. Those lights made the night look even scarier. The crowd was stupefied when they saw Lin Feng's body. His body was surprisingly becoming bigger. It was incredible. His body turned black and was growing. His eyes were so strange that they sufficed to make people shiver at first glance. That's a demon. The crowd was astonished again. Lin Feng didn't only have a golden Buddha body. At that moment he had turned into demon. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.